What? What's going on? No matter how many times I try, my apartment key won't work. I've just returned from a business trip and find myself completely locked out. I try to reach Randy, who should be home, but there's no response. Peeking through the keyhole, I see that the apartment is empty. I'm sure I'm at the right place, so what's going on? Where's my stuff? Where did Randy disappear to? Panicked, I rush to my in-laws' house, and there is Randy. As soon as I arrive, Randy looks at me and says, "Who are you?" Speechless, I watch as Randy smirks triumphantly. I could never have imagined the ending that awaited me. My name is Sharen, and I am 32 years old. I am a working housewife living with Randy. We've been married for 3 years. Randy was originally a colleague at work, and we were fierce competitors. He was a good rival, but also my biggest supporter. It didn't take long for us to start dating, and we got engaged after a year. But there was one thing that worried me about getting married. It was something Randy said as we were about to register our marriage. "Sharon, I'm thinking of quitting my job after we get married." "What? Quitting your job? Why would you do that?" I asked, stunned. "Actually, I've been thinking about this for a while. I want to use my experience to start my own company." "Your own company?" "Yeah, I want to start a business and do something bigger. So please let me give it my best shot." He bowed his head, and I could see the sincerity in his eyes. I didn't know how to respond. I wanted to support Randy as his biggest advocate, but quitting his job to start a business was a huge risk. We were married now, and I hoped to have kids someday. Was it really necessary to sacrifice our stable life for this dream? I couldn't voice my concerns to Randy. In the end, he quit his job as soon as we got married and used all our savings to start a staffing agency. People often said, "Wow, Randy is amazing. Aren't you proud your husband is a CEO?" But I didn't feel that way at all. My female colleagues, especially my good friend Marilyn, seemed to understand my unease. "Starting a business right after getting married is too risky," Marilyn often said, echoing my thoughts. "I agree with you, Marilyn." I wanted to say no, but I couldn't. "Be careful, Sharon. Randy tends to push things through based on his mood." "I know. I've seen him make mistakes at work because of that." "You'll have to keep an eye on him, Sharon." "I will. I'll listen to him regularly and do what I can. But the truth is, I've only ever done my current job, so the world of entrepreneurship is completely unknown to me." "Why did Randy suddenly want to start a business, and why a staffing agency?" I asked, but Randy never gave me a clear answer. Though Randy had started his own company, it seemed he hadn't thought things through. He hired several employees right off the bat, but with little work coming in, the labor costs were skyrocketing. In today's world, there are countless staffing agencies online, so offering face-to-face staffing services was, to put it bluntly, reckless. Randy used to be competent at his job, but ever since he quit, his ideas seemed to be running dry. Sure enough, the company ran out of funds in no time, and employees started quitting. Finally, unable to pay salaries, Randy approached me. "Sharon, can you lend me $20,000? "What, $20,000? Do you even realize how much money that is?" "I do, but what choice do I have? I have to pay the employees." "That may be true, but that's not my problem." "You are my wife, and you are saying it's not your problem. You married me, committing to a lifetime together, right?" "Right, so you should help me out when I'm in trouble." Randy spoke as if he had done nothing wrong. I couldn't find the words to respond to his cold, disdainful gaze. For the next few days, Randy kept demanding the $20,000, adding insults like, "This happened because you didn't support me as a wife. It's all your fault. You need to cover the financial shortfall." I was berated daily and even faced some physical aggression. As days went by, I started to believe that maybe it was my fault. A year into our marriage, Randy's company teetered on the edge of bankruptcy. By then, my savings had significantly dwindled, mostly drained by efforts to keep Randy's company afloat. Despite the dire situation, Randy refused to consider shutting down the business. Instead, he sought help from his parents, my father-in-law, an average office worker, and my mother-in-law, a homemaker, had little to spare, but they couldn't turn away their desperate son. Ultimately, they mortgaged their house to lend him the money. Learning of this, even I was taken aback. How far would any parent go for their child? If Randy's company failed, they'd lose their home. Unfortunately, my fears materialized when Randy's company collapsed within just 6 months, leaving us drowning in debt. Following the fallout, Randy seemed to lose all drive to work. He spent his days idling around the house. Unable to tolerate it any longer, I confronted him multiple times. Randy, look, we're not exactly swimming in cash either. I've exhausted my savings. Can you please start looking for a job? What? How can you be so heartless? I'm devastated after losing my company. This is not the time for that. We owe money to your parents. They'll be fine. Their house is collateral. Do you even understand what that means? If things continue like this, they'll lose their house. It doesn't matter to us. My parents are old. They might as well be useful for once. I can't believe this. I never thought you'd be this kind of person. From that point on, cracks began to appear in our marriage. It's been about 6 months since Randy's company went bankrupt, and he shows no signs of finding a job. He's doing day labor once a week and spending all the money on himself. I've been dipping into my savings and cutting corners to make ends meet. Then one day, during a break at work, my mother-in-law called. Ah, Sharen, sorry for the sudden call, but I need to talk to you. Hello, mother-in-law. What's going on? Could you lend us some money? If we can't pay back the loan by the end of the month, we lose our house. It seemed my worst fears were coming true. I told my mother-in-law, let me think about it. I've already talked to Randy, but he said, I don't have any money. If you lose the house, so be it. What? Randy said that? What should we do, Sharen? We're going to lose our home. Calm down, I have an idea. After hanging up, I called my father, who answered immediately. Hey Dad, it's Sharen. Ah, a long time, not talk. How are you? I'm fine, but there's a problem. What happened? Randy's company went bankrupt, and now his parents might lose their house. What? Why? After explaining the situation, my father agreed to help financially, even though Randy was clearly at fault. My dad said, he is the man you chose, and didn't blame me. My father is a wealthy real estate investor, and I've never had to worry about money. The rental income alone is a considerable amount, so to be honest, I never had any problems making ends meet until I got married. But when I got a job, I decided to be financially independent and refuse any support from him. And Randy ruined all of that. I felt guilty, but I had no choice but to accept my father's help to save my in-laws. I kept it a secret from Randy and transferred the money to my in-laws. Why didn't I tell Randy? I've only told him that my dad is a real estate agent. If he found out about my father's wealth, I feared he'd change his attitude and start demanding money. If that happened, it would be the end of us. If we are going to continue living together, I don't want to grow to resent Randy. That's why I have to keep my father's wealth a secret from him. To avoid hurting my beloved parents and in-laws, I chose to continue my relationship with Randy. When I told my mother-in-law about my father's financial help, she said, Are you sure? You and your father saved us. It's fine. I'd rather avoid any unnecessary drama. All right, if you say so, we'll pay back the money, even if it takes time. Don't worry, I'll help with that too. Thank you, Sharen. You've been a lifesaver. I could hear the tremor in my mother-in-law's voice over the phone. I was glad that I could help her. Knowing that she had been pushed into such a corner, I felt a sense of relief in being able to assist. But Randy's behavior was deteriorating. He was increasingly absent from home, and when I asked where he was, he'd retort with, None of your business, yet he still demanded money for groceries. Then, I had to embark on a business trip for 3 days. I was worried but also relieved. 3 days without seeing Randy's face. I had married him out of love, but now his presence was a burden. 3 days later, I returned from my trip. From the airport, I headed home with a gloomy feeling. I should have been eager to get home, but the thought of seeing Randy again filled me with dread. When I tried to unlock the door, something felt off. What's going on? No matter how many times I tried, the key wouldn't work. Randy wasn't responding to my calls. It seemed like I was locked out. What should I do if Randy is not home? I can't get in. And it wasn't just that. Peering through the peephole, I saw that the apartment was empty. The house shouldn't be wrong, but why? Where's my stuff? Where did Randy go? Panicked, I forgot to call the management company and called my parents instead, but they didn't answer. So, I decided to go to my in-laws' house where I could also give them the souvenir I'd bought. When I arrived, Randy was there. Randy, what are you doing here? My mother-in-law spoke first. He showed up out of the blue, asking to stay for a few days. What, Randy? What's going on? I couldn't get into our apartment. Randy chuckled and looked down at me. Who are you? I was at a loss for words, but Randy wore a smug grin on his face. Still, I mustered the courage to speak. What are you talking about, Randy? What about the house keys? Isn't it obvious? I've already moved out of that house. What? Oh, and by the way, we're already divorced, so we are nothing to each other now. I've got a new girlfriend, so you should just go. A new girlfriend? Caught off guard, my mind went blank as Randy shoved his phone screen in my face. There he was hugging the young woman, both of them smiling happily. In that moment, everything felt meaningless, and I lost the will to think. Fine, whatever. This marriage was over a long time ago. I slumped to the floor, and Randy looked down at me, grinning. Then, with a loud smack, Randy fell to the ground. His mother-in-law had slapped him. What? Mother, what are you doing? What have you done, young man? What do you mean, what have I done? I just left a useless wife, and I'm planning to marry my new girlfriend. His mother-in-law started to tremble, her face turning red. Randy, do you really not know that you have this life because of Sharen? When your business was failing and this house was about to be foreclosed, Sharen asked her father for a loan. My father-in-law did what Randy was visibly shocked, probably never expecting this. His mother-in-law didn't hold back. And yet you, how much trouble do you need to cause others to be satisfied, Randy? Even your mistress grew tired of you and disappeared. Serves you right, this is the fate of a man who lived only for himself. After the divorce, I moved back in with my parents. They're worried about me, fresh out of a failed marriage, but truth be told, I have no regrets. I have a job and a loving family who stand by my side. That alone makes me feel truly blessed. From now on, I want to live my life to the fullest for the people who truly care about me.
The invitation sat on my desk like a ticking bomb, its cream-colored envelope mocking me with elegant gold lettering. Celebrating Beckett's recovery. I wanted to tear it into 1,000 pieces, but my hands were shaking too much. My name is Kylie, and 3 months ago I had $87,132 in my college fund. Today, I have exactly $0 and a family who thinks I should be happy about it. You're not still upset about this, are you? Mom stood in my doorway, wringing her hands like she always does when she's nervous. Honey, he could have died. I kept staring at the invitation, remembering all those weekends I spent working at the coffee shop, every birthday check from Grandma, every summer job since I was 15. You could have asked me first, I whispered. There wasn't time. The hospital needed— Don't. I spun around in my chair. Don't tell me there wasn't time. You had 3 days while he was stable before they needed payment. 3 days, Mom. She stepped into my room, her eyes landing on the art supplies scattered across my desk. The acceptance letter from the Art Institute of Chicago was still pinned to my bulletin board, though it didn't matter anymore. I couldn't afford to go. Your cousin needed emergency surgery. What were we supposed to do? Maybe ask his own parents, or take out a loan, or, I don't know, talk to me about using my entire future? The doorbell rang, saving Mom from responding. Moments later, I heard Natalia's voice downstairs, followed by her familiar footsteps bounding up to my room. "Hey, Mrs. V," she said, squeezing past my mother. "Mind if I steal Kylie for a bit?" Mom retreated, and Natalia closed the door behind her. "You look like hell." "Thanks, really needed that today. Saw Beckett at the grocery store," she said, flopping onto my bed. "He's looking good. Almost like he didn't just steal your entire college fund." I threw a pencil at her. "Not helping." "You know what's really messed up?" Natalia sat up, her expression serious. "He doesn't even know. I heard him talking about how grateful he is for family support during his recovery, but he has no idea it was your money." That hit me like a punch to the gut. "What?" "Yeah, he was telling everyone how his aunt and uncle helped cover the bills. Your parents never told him where the money actually came from." I grabbed my phone, pulling up the photos from last Christmas. There was Beckett, arm around my shoulders, both of us laughing as I showed him my portfolio. He'd been so excited about my art school plans. "They're throwing him a party," I said, holding up the invitation. "A celebration of his miraculous recovery, paid for with my dreams. Are you going?" "Haven't decided." I turned back to my desk, where my latest artwork sat unfinished. It was supposed to be my submission piece for a scholarship, but I'd lost motivation halfway through. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "Don't forget to RSVP for Saturday. Beckett's asking if you're coming." Natalia read the message over my shoulder. "You know what would be wild? If everyone knew the truth." "What do you mean?" "I mean, they're all celebrating like heroes while you're sitting here with your future in pieces. Maybe it's time people knew what really happened." I thought about Beckett's girlfriend, Zaylee, posting those thankful messages about family support, about my relatives sharing prayer circle updates during his recovery, about my parents accepting praise for their generosity. "I couldn't," I said, but even as the words left my mouth, something shifted inside me. "Why not? You're an artist, right? Words can be art, too. Tell your story. Make them feel what you're feeling." My hand moved to my laptop, opening a blank document. The cursor blinked at me, waiting. "It would destroy them," I said quietly. "They destroyed your dreams first." Natalia picked up the invitation, turning it over in her hands. "Sometimes the truth hurts." I started typing, the words flowing faster than I could think them through. "Dear family, you're all gathering this Saturday to celebrate a miracle, but there's something you should know about the price of that miracle." "Holy shit," Natalia breathed, reading over my shoulder. "Are you really going to do this?" I paused, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. The party was in 3 days. Everyone would be there. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. All of them ready to celebrate while my college acceptance letter gathered dust. "Maybe it's time for my own miracle," I said, and kept typing. The cursor blinked, waiting for more words, more truth. Outside my window, the sun was setting, painting my room in shades of gold, the same color as that damn invitation. I looked at my art supplies, at my empty bank account statement, at the family photos on my wall. Sometimes karma needs a little push. The smell of Mom's enchiladas usually made everything better, but tonight it just turned my stomach. I pushed the food around my plate, watching my parents exchange worried glances across the dining table. "I talked to the community college today," Dad said, breaking the silence. "They have some great art programs and—" "Stop!" I set my fork down with a clank. "Just stop." "Kylie, we're trying to help," Mom pleaded. "There are other options." "Other options?" I laughed, but it came out harsh and bitter. "Like what? Starting over from zero while watching Beckett celebrate his recovery with my money?" Dad's face reddened. "That's not fair. He's family." "And what am I?" I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "Because last time I checked, I was your daughter. But I guess that means less than being the cool aunt and uncle who saved the day." "Sit down." Dad's voice hardened. "We're not done discussing this." "Oh, now you want to discuss things? That's rich." I pulled out my phone, showing them the latest Facebook post from Aunt Maria. "Look at this. So grateful for my amazing brother and sister-in-law who helped save my son. The comments are full of people calling you saints." Mom reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Honey, please understand." "Did you even consider telling them the truth?" I demanded. "Or were you too busy enjoying all the praise?" "It wasn't like that," Dad protested. "We were protecting you." "Protecting me? From what?" "From the family thinking you're selfish." The words burst from Mom like she'd been holding them back for weeks. "If everyone knew you refused to help Beckett—" "Refused?" My voice cracked. "I never got the chance to refuse or agree because you never asked me." The doorbell rang, making us all jump. Through the window, I saw Gareth's car in our driveway. Great. Just what we needed. An audience. Dad went to answer the door while Mom and I stayed locked in our standoff. "Hey, sorry to interrupt," Gareth's voice carried from the hallway. "Left my jacket here yesterday." He appeared in the dining room doorway, taking in the scene, the untouched food, Mom's tears, my clenched fists. I should go, he said quickly. No, stay, I said, surprising myself. Maybe you can help explain something to my parents. You're objective, right? Kylie, don't, Mom warned. If someone took your life savings without asking, I pressed on, and then expected you to celebrate with them, would you just smile and pretend everything's fine? Gareth looked uncomfortable, but he didn't back down. Actually, I heard about what happened. From Zaylee. That stopped me cold. What? She mentioned the college fund thing yesterday. Said Beckett's been trying to figure out how to talk to you about it. He knows? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Found out last week, Gareth confirmed. He's pretty torn up about it. Good, I spat. He should be. Kylie, Dad started. No, I slammed my hand on the table, making the plates rattle. You don't get to make me feel guilty about this. You're the ones who should feel guilty. You stole my future and gave it to someone else without even telling them where it came from. We didn't steal, Mom began. What would you call it then? I pulled out my phone again, this time opening my banking app. Want to see the withdrawal notification? The one that came while I was at work. Or how about we look at my art school acceptance letter again? There will be other opportunities, Dad said weakly. Like community college? I laughed again, that same horrible sound. While Beckett gets to keep his job, his apartment, his life, all paid for with my sacrifice, Gareth cleared his throat. Maybe I should tell them what Zaylee said, I demanded. Tell them how Beckett really feels, knowing what they did. Gareth hesitated, looking between my parents. He said he would have refused if he'd known. Said he'd rather have the debt than know his cousin lost her dreams because of him. Mom started crying harder. Dad just stood there, looking old and defeated. I'm going to Natalia's, I announced, grabbing my keys. Don't wait up. Kylie, please, Mom called after me. We can figure this out as a family. I stopped at the door, turning back one last time. Family doesn't steal from family, and they definitely don't throw a party to celebrate it. As I drove away, my phone lit up with a text from Natalia. Did you finish the letter? I thought about the document sitting on my laptop, full of raw truth and pain. Almost, I typed back. Just need to decide how to end it. The answer came quickly. End it with the truth, all of it. Let karma do the rest. Read it again, Natalia said, sprawled across her bedroom floor. We'd been at this for hours, tweaking every word of my letter. Dear family, I began, then stopped. Maybe I should make it Dear Everyone instead, since we're posting it online? Keep it as family, makes it more personal, more brutal. Natalia sat up, grabbing a bag of chips. Keep going. I cleared my throat and continued reading. While you're all celebrating this Saturday, I thought you should know the real cost of this miracle. That college fund you've been praising my parents about? It wasn't theirs to give. It was mine. Every dollar I saved since I was 15, gone without my knowledge or consent. My phone buzzed. Another text from Beckett. The fifth one today. I ignored it. The part about the art school acceptance is really good, Natalia said. Read that again. Before I could, someone knocked on her bedroom door. Gareth poked his head in. Your mom let me in, he said. Thought I might find you here. I closed my laptop. If my parents sent you, they didn't. He sat down on Natalia's desk chair. But I did talk to Beckett. I don't want to hear it. You might. He pulled out his phone. He showed me something interesting, his insurance documents. Natalia sat up straighter. What about them? The surgery was covered, 80% of it anyway. Gareth looked at me. Your parents didn't need your entire fund. They could have taken out a loan for the remaining amount. The room went silent. My hands started shaking. Show me, I demanded. He handed over his phone. There it was in black and white. The insurance coverage, The remaining balance, everything. They didn't just take my dreams, I whispered. They took more than they even needed. Keep reading, Natalia urged, pointing at my laptop. I want to hear the rest. I opened it again, scrolling past the parts we'd already reviewed. I'm not writing this for sympathy or revenge. I'm writing this because the truth matters. Because while you're all celebrating how family comes together in times of need, remember that some family members didn't get a choice. Remember that your miracle came at the cost of someone else's future. Damn, Gareth whispered. Too much? I asked. No, he said. Not enough. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Zaylee. Can we talk, please? Add the insurance info, Natalia said. Show them exactly how unnecessary this was. I started typing, but memories kept flooding back. Beckett teaching me to drive. Us sharing headphones on family road trips. Him defending my art when Uncle Rob said it wasn't a real career. I can't do this, I said, closing the laptop. Yes, you can, Natalia insisted. They need to know. But what if what? She stood up, pacing. What if they feel bad? Good. What if the family judges them? They should. What if it changes everything? I cut in. What if there's no coming back from this? Gareth leaned forward. Things already changed when they took your money. At least this way, it's on your terms. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. Please come home. We need to talk. You know what's funny? I said, opening my laptop again. I always thought Beckett was like my brother. Turns out he was just the favorite child, and he's not even their kid. I started typing again, adding the insurance information. The words flowed easier now, fueled by this new betrayal. So enjoy the party, I read aloud as I typed. Celebrate the miracle, but know that every smile, every congratulation, every moment of joy comes with a price tag, my price tag, and unlike all of you, I never got to choose if I was willing to pay it. Post it, Natalia said immediately. Wait, Gareth held up a hand. Are you sure, once this is out there? They should have thought about that before they stole from their own daughter. Natalia grabbed my laptop, finger hovering over the post button. Ready? I thought about my empty bank account, about my art supplies gathering dust, about the community college brochures Dad left on my bed. Do it! Natalia clicked post. For a moment, nothing happened. Then my phone started buzzing, text after text, notification after notification. It's spreading, Natalia whispered, watching the share count climb. Holy shit, it's really spreading. I picked up my phone, opening Beckett's last message. I never wanted this. I'm so sorry. Too late, I typed back. The truth's out now. Hope the party's worth it. Gareth stood up. Want me to drive you home? I shook my head, watching the comments pour in. No, I think I'll let karma do its work first. The post count hit 100 shares, then 500, then 1,000. The truth was finally out there, and there was no taking it back now. I hadn't expected the art community to be the ones who cared the most. But here I was, staring at my inbox flooded with messages from artists, gallery owners, and even a few professors from the Art Institute of Chicago. Look at this one, Natalia said, scrolling through my phone. As a gallery owner, I'm appalled by your story. Art shouldn't be sacrificed for family politics. DM me. We should talk about showcasing your work. My laptop pinged with another email notification. That's the third scholarship offer today, I mumbled, still in disbelief. The doorbell rang. I froze, but Natalia jumped up to check the window. It's Beckett, she whispered, and he looks terrible. I'm not here. Your car's in the driveway. He knows you're here. The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. I could hear him calling my name. Kylie, please, we need to talk. Natalia squeezed my hand. Want me to tell him to leave? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a new message from the Art Institute. Regarding your situation, emergency scholarship committee meeting tomorrow. The doorbell kept ringing. Fine, I snapped, storming downstairs. I yanked the door open. What? Beckett stood there, pale and shaking. His surgery scar was still visible above his collar. You could have told me. Like you told me about the insurance coverage? He flinched. I only found out about that yesterday, right before your post went viral. Convenient timing. Can I come in, please? I stepped aside, letting him enter. Natalia hovered at the top of the stairs, watching. I saw your portfolio online, he said quietly. The one you submitted to Chicago. It's amazing, Kylie. You really should be there right now. Yeah, well, someone's medical bills got in the way. I talked to my parents this morning. He sat heavily on the couch. They're mortified, said they offered to take out a loan, but Aunt Taya and Uncle Ian insisted on handling it themselves. My hands started shaking again. What? They never needed your money, not all of it anyway. He pulled out his phone, showing me texts from his parents. Mom and Dad had already figured out a payment plan with the hospital. Your parents just took over. The room started spinning. But they said there wasn't time, that it was an emergency. The emergency was the surgery. The payment plan came after. He looked up at me, eyes red. I would never have accepted if I'd known, Kylie. You have to believe that. My laptop pinged again upstairs. Another message, another opportunity born from my viral post. People are offering me scholarships, I said. Galleries want to show my work. All because I told the truth. Good. He stood up. You deserve it, all of it. The party's tomorrow. I know, I called it off. That stopped me. What? Can't exactly celebrate now, can I? He attempted a smile. Not when everyone knows the cost. Natalia came downstairs, her phone in hand. Kylie, you need to see this. Your post just got shared by that famous artist you follow, the one with millions of followers. My phone started buzzing non-stop. Messages, comments, shares. I have to go, Beckett said. But Kylie, I really am sorry, and I'm going to make this right. How? I don't know yet, but I will. He headed for the door, then paused. Check your email in an hour. My girlfriend's sister works for an art scholarship foundation. She wants to help. After he left, Natalia and I sat in silence, watching the notifications pour in. Holy shit, she finally said. Your revenge just turned into your big break. My phone rang, Mom calling for the 20th time today. I declined it. What are you going to do about tomorrow? Natalia asked. The party might be canceled, but people will still talk. Let them talk. I opened my laptop, clicking on the latest scholarship email. I'm done being the family secret. Your parents made their choice. I started filling out the scholarship application. Now I'm making mine. My phone buzzed with a text from Gareth. Just saw your story on the news. Local station wants to interview you. Then another from Zaylee. Beckett's telling everyone the truth. The whole family's imploding. And finally, one from Dad. We never meant to hurt you. Please, let us explain. I looked at Natalia. Think karma works this fast usually? She grinned. Only when it has help from viral social media posts. My laptop pinged again. Another gallery reaching out. Another opportunity rising from the ashes of my stolen dreams. Sometimes, I said, typing out a response, the best revenge is success. And for the first time since discovering my empty bank account, I felt something like hope. The house looked different now, with all the party decorations taken down. A few deflated balloons still littered the front yard, and a congratulations banner hung crookedly over the garage. I sat in my car, watching relatives arrive one by one. Not for a celebration anymore, but for what Mom called an emergency family meeting. You don't have to go in, Natalia said from the passenger seat. You've made your point. My phone lit up with another message from the Art Institute. Scholarship confirmed. Please respond to accept. Actually, I said, grabbing my portfolio from the back seat, I think I do. We walked in without knocking. The living room was packed. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all talking in hushed voices that died the moment I entered. Mom and Dad sat on the couch, looking small and tired. Beckett stood by the window with Zaylee. Well, Uncle Rob broke the silence, look who decided to air our dirty laundry to the whole world. Rob, Aunt Maria warned, but he continued, you couldn't handle this privately? Had to make us all look bad? I dropped my portfolio on the coffee table with a loud thud. Funny how you're more worried about looking bad than actually being bad. Kylie, Mom started, but I cut her off. No, let's talk about looking bad. I pulled out my phone, opening the viral post. Should I read the comments? The ones calling you thieves? Or maybe the ones praising Beckett's miraculous recovery while pointing out how you sacrificed your daughter's future for it? That's enough, Dad said. Is it? Because I just got offered a full scholarship. I turned to face everyone. Turns out, when you tell the truth about injustice, people actually want to help. Beckett stepped forward. Show them the portfolio, Kylie. I opened it, spreading my artwork across the coffee table. Paintings, sketches, digital designs, everything that could have been developed at art school. This is what you stole from me, I said quietly. Not just money, but opportunity, growth, dreams. We were trying to save a life, Mom whispered. With a payment plan that already existed, I shot back. Beckett told me everything. His parents had it handled, but you just had to play the heroes, didn't you? Aunt Maria stood up. We offered to take the loan. They insisted. Because they wanted the praise. I was shouting now, years of hurt pouring out. They wanted everyone to think they saved the day, and my future was just collateral damage. That's not true, Dad protested. Then why didn't you tell anyone where the money came from? Zaylee spoke up, surprising everyone. Why let everyone believe it was your money? The room went quiet again. I have something to say, Beckett announced. He pulled out an envelope. This is a contract. I'm selling my car and my gaming setup. It's not enough to replace everything, but it's a start. Beckett, no, I began. Yes, he handed me the envelope. And I'm taking that loan my parents originally planned on. Every penny is going to you. Mom started crying. Dad just stared at the floor. The Art Institute wants me to start next semester, I said, my voice steady. Thanks to the scholarship that came from telling the truth you all tried to hide. So that's it? Uncle Rob demanded. You get your money back and we're just supposed to forget how you humiliated this family? No. I picked up my portfolio. You're supposed to remember. Remember that actions have consequences. Remember that family means protecting everyone, not just the person you choose to save. Natalia squeezed my hand as more relatives started talking all at once, arguing about loyalty and privacy and family honor. I have one more announcement, I said over the noise. That gallery downtown, they're showing my work next month. All pieces about family, betrayal, and karma. I looked directly at my parents. I hope you'll all come see what your choices inspired. Kylie, please. Mom reached for me, but I stepped back. The truth set me free, I said, and it got me exactly where I needed to be. So thank you, all of you. This family taught me that sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best opportunities. I turned to leave, but Beckett called after me. Will you ever forgive us? Looking back at my broken family, my crying mother, my defeated father, my angry relatives, I managed a small smile. Ask me again when I graduate from art school. Walking out felt like breathing fresh air after being underwater. My phone buzzed with another message from the gallery owner. Your story resonates with so many. Can't wait to show the world your art. Ready to go? Natalia asked as we got back in the car. I looked at the house one last time, at the crooked congratulations banner and the deflated balloons. Yeah, I said. I think I finally am. Your story has over 1 million views now, Natalia announced, scrolling through her phone. We were setting up my pieces at the gallery, preparing for tomorrow's opening night. The comments are wild. People are planning to fly in just to see your work. I stepped back from hanging my centerpiece, a large canvas depicting empty hands reaching for scattered dollar bills that transformed into origami birds taking flight. Ms. Reynolds wants to see you, one of the gallery assistants called from the doorway. In her office. I found the gallery owner reviewing some paperwork. She looked up as I entered, gesturing for me to sit. We have a situation, she said, turning her laptop toward me. Your family's been calling, repeatedly. They're demanding we cancel the show. My stomach dropped. They can't do that. Of course not. But, she hesitated. They're threatening legal action. Something about defamation. The truth isn't defamation. I know, and we're still going forward. She smiled. Actually, that's not why I called you in. This came for you. She handed me an envelope with an international postmark. Inside was a letter from one of the most prestigious art schools in Paris. They saw your story, Ms. Reynolds explained, and your portfolio. They're offering you a spot in their program, full scholarship, including living expenses. My hands started shaking. Paris? Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways, she winked, though I suspect viral social media posts help too. My phone buzzed, Beckett calling. Again, I declined it. Your family might try to show up tomorrow, she warned. Security's been briefed. Let them come, I said, clutching the Paris letter. Let them see exactly what their actions created. Back in the gallery, Natalia was talking to a reporter. Yeah, that's her, she said as I approached. The artist herself. Ms. Vasquez, the reporter turned to me, recorder in hand. Your story has sparked quite a debate about family obligations versus personal dreams. Any comment? Before I could answer, the gallery door chimed. Beckett walked in, followed by Zaley. We need to talk, he said, ignoring the reporter. It's important. I nodded to the reporter. Excuse me. We moved to a quiet corner, where my smallest piece hung, a simple sketch of a broken piggy bank with tears instead of coins spilling out. Mom and Dad are falling apart, Beckett said quietly. The whole family is taking sides. Some are calling them thieves, others are calling you ungrateful. It's getting ugly. Not my problem. They're talking about selling their house, Zaley added, to pay you back. That hit me hard. What? Your post didn't just go viral in the art world, Beckett explained. Local businesses are boycotting Dad's company. Mom's preschool lost students. Their reputation is destroyed. They destroyed my future first, I snapped, but my voice wavered. I know, but... He pulled out his phone, showing me a local news article. Is this what you wanted? The headline read, Local family faces community backlash after daughter's viral post exposes financial betrayal. I wanted the truth to come out, I said. Well, it's out, and it's doing more damage than anyone expected. He looked around at my artwork. You're getting everything you wanted, scholarships, gallery shows, opportunities. Maybe it's time to what? Forgive and forget? To show mercy, Zaley said softly, before there's nothing left to save. My phone buzzed again, Ms. Reynolds texting about tomorrow's opening. Then another message popped up from an unknown number. Your story inspired me to stand up to my own toxic family. Thank you. I can't take it back, I said finally, and I won't. We're not asking you to, Beckett replied, but maybe there's a way to move forward, all of us. I looked at my artwork surrounding us, each piece telling the story of betrayal, loss, and ultimately triumph. The Paris school wants me, I said suddenly. Full scholarship. Beckett's eyes widened. Paris? That's amazing. Yeah, it is. I turned to face him fully. Tell Mom and Dad to keep their house. Tell them I don't want their money anymore. I found my own way out. And the posts? The interviews? I touched the frame of my broken piggy bank sketch. The truth stays up, but maybe I can tell a different part of it now, about healing, about moving forward. Zaylee squeezed my arm. That's all anyone can ask for. The gallery door chimed again. This time it was Gareth, carrying a large envelope. You're going to want to see this, he called out. Another offer just came in. This one's big. I looked at my cousin, at the art surrounding us, at the future unfolding in unexpected ways. Karma's not just about punishment, I said quietly. Sometimes it's about transformation, too. Beckett nodded, understanding. Go, see what karma brought you now. I walked toward Gareth, leaving my family drama captured in paint and canvas behind me, ready to see what the next chapter would bring. The gallery buzzed with voices and camera flashes. Every piece had a red sold sticker, and Ms. Reynolds couldn't stop smiling. But I kept staring at the 2 empty chairs in the front row, the seats I'd reserved for my parents. They're not coming, Natalia said gently, handing me a glass of champagne. But look who did. Through the crowd, I spotted Beckett talking to a group of art critics. He was showing them something on his phone, probably the payment plan he'd set up to slowly repay my college fund. Ready for your speech? Ms. Reynolds appeared at my elbow. The Paris school representatives are especially eager to hear from you. I nodded, gripping my note cards. As I made my way to the small podium, someone slipped in through the back door. Mom, then Dad. They stood awkwardly by the exit, looking lost among the art crowd. Good evening, I began, my voice shaking slightly. A month ago, I thought my dreams were over. The room fell silent. Cameras flashed. But sometimes, I continued, when one door closes, 100 others open. My art has always been about truth, raw, uncomfortable truth. And when I shared my truth with the world answered back. I saw Mom wiping her eyes, Dad holding her hand. Today, I'm announcing that I'll be attending l'École des Beaux-Arts in Paris this fall. My entire education will be funded by their international scholarship program. Applause erupted. Someone whistled. Probably Natalia. I'm also pleased to announce that 50% of tonight's proceeds will be donated to a new scholarship fund for artists facing financial hardship, because sometimes, I paused, looking directly at my parents. Sometimes healing means helping others avoid the pain you experienced. More applause. Mom took a step forward but stopped, uncertain. And finally, I said, setting aside my cards, I want to talk about family. The room got very quiet. My story went viral because it touched a nerve. The complex, messy reality of family obligations versus personal dreams. But while my art captures the pain of betrayal, it also shows something else. Transformation. Beckett moved closer to the podium, nodding encouragingly. My cousin taught me that true family means acknowledging mistakes and working to make them right. My parents, my voice cracked. My parents taught me that sometimes people make terrible decisions with good intentions. And I learned that while forgiveness doesn't erase the past, it can build a bridge to the future. Dad wrapped his arm around Mom's shoulders as she cried silently. So, yes, this is a story about betrayal, but it's also a story about resilience, about finding strength in vulnerability, and about the unexpected ways karma works in our lives. After the applause died down and people returned to viewing the art, my parents finally approached. "We saw the article," Mom said quietly, "about us selling the house." "Don't," I replied. "I meant what I said about transformation. I don't need your money anymore." "We're so proud of you," Dad whispered, "even though we don't deserve to be." "Actually," Beckett interrupted, joining us with a folder in his hand, "I have something for all of us to sign." He opened it, revealing a legal document. "What's this?" I asked. "A formal agreement, my payment plan, Mom and Dad's house staying in their name, and—" He pulled out another paper. "A contract with that tech company that wants to turn your story into a documentary series." "What?" Mom gasped. "Turns out," Beckett smiled, "Kylie's art isn't the only thing people want to invest in. They want the whole story, betrayal, redemption, all of it. But they'll only do it if everyone agrees to participate." I stared at the contract. The number of zeros in the offered payment made my head spin. "Split 5 ways," Beckett continued. "You, me, your parents, and a portion for the scholarship fund you just announced." "I don't know," Mom started. "It's time," Dad cut in. "Time to tell the whole truth from all sides. We owe her that much." Ms. Reynolds appeared with a pen. "The Paris representatives want to meet you, Kylie, and there's a gallery owner from London asking about international showings." I looked at my family, broken but somehow healing, damaged but transforming. Then at my art on the walls, each piece telling part of our story. "Okay," I said, taking the pen, "let's show the world what real family healing looks like." As we all signed, Natalia snapped a photo. "For the documentary," she grinned. Later, standing among my sold-out show, watching my parents awkwardly but earnestly talking to art critics, seeing Beckett proudly explaining my work to potential investors, I realized something profound. Sometimes the greatest art comes from our deepest wounds. And sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't about destroying others. It's about rebuilding yourself into something stronger, something unstoppable. Karma had done its work, but not in the way I'd expected. It hadn't just brought justice, it had brought transformation for all of us. "Ready?" Natalia asked, adjusting my scarf against the Paris winter. We stood outside l'École des Beaux-Arts, where my latest exhibition was about to open. "Almost." I checked my phone. A text from Beckett. "Documentary crew is set up. Family's all here. Even Uncle Rob came around." The exhibition space looked perfect. Each wall told part of our story through my art, from the original broken piggy bank sketch to my newest piece, a massive canvas showing a family tree with roots made of golden light, branches intertwined with darkness and hope. "They're ready for you," Ms. Reynolds called from inside. She'd flown in specially for this show, along with half my family. I took one last look at my phone, at the latest comment on my viral post. "Your story changed how I view family obligations. Thank you for showing us that healing is possible." Inside, camera crews set up their final shots for the documentary's closing segment. Mom and Dad stood by my centerpiece, a sculpture of hands releasing origami birds, each one carrying a different message: trust, betrayal, forgiveness, growth. "This is extraordinary," Dad said as I approached. He wasn't talking about just the art. "The scholarship fund helped 15 artists this semester," I told him. 3 of them are showing their work here tonight." Mom touched one of the origami birds. "Is this one new? I don't remember it from before." "Read it," I said softly. She carefully turned the paper bird, revealing the word family. "Kylie?" Beckett called from across the room. "The dean wants to start soon, and Zaylee says the live stream is ready for everyone back home." I watched the gallery fill with people. Art critics, students, family members who'd flown in, and those watching virtually. The documentary crew positioned their cameras. Before we begin, I announced, stepping to the center of the room, I want to share something. When I first posted about my family's betrayal, I thought I was ending a chapter. Instead, I was starting a whole new story. The cameras rolled as I continued. This exhibition isn't called betrayal or revenge or even justice. It's called transformation because that's what really happened to all of us. I gestured to the family tree painting. My parents transformed from people who thought they were saving one child to understanding they were hurting another. My cousin transformed from someone who benefited from my loss to becoming my strongest advocate for making things right. Beckett smiled, squeezing Zaylee's hand, and I transformed too, from a victim to a voice, from lost dreams to new opportunities, from seeking revenge to finding purpose. Mom stepped forward suddenly. We have something to show you too. She nodded to Dad, who pulled out an envelope. What's this? I asked. Open it. Inside was a deed to a small storefront in our hometown. I don't understand. It's an art gallery, Dad explained. Your gallery, for when you're ready to come home sometimes, to help other artists tell their stories. We used the money we were going to spend paying you back, Mom added, since you wouldn't take it directly. The documentary crew zoomed in as I stared at the deed. The scholarship students can show there too, Beckett suggested. Make it a space for healing through art. Like you did, Natalia added. I looked around the room, at my art telling our story, at the family who broke me and then helped rebuild me, at the opportunities that grew from the ashes of betrayal. The gallery opens next month, Dad said, if you want it. On one condition, I replied, pulling out my latest sketch. This is the first piece to be displayed. They leaned in to look. It showed our family photo, the one from before everything happened, but reimagined. The figures were connected by golden threads, broken in places but mended with stronger, brighter lines. It's called Second Chances, I explained. Mom hugged me, then Dad, then Beckett. The cameras captured it all. Ready to open the doors? Ms. Reynolds asked. There's quite a crowd waiting. I looked at my family, at my art, at the life I'd built from broken dreams. Yes, I said. Let's show them what transformation really looks like. As the doors opened and people flooded in, I realized something. Karma hadn't just given me justice, it had given me purpose. And maybe that was the greatest transformation of all. The documentary crew filmed as I cut the ribbon, officially opening the exhibition. Behind me, my family stood united, transformed, ready to write our next chapter together. Not as victims and betrayers, but as people who learned that sometimes the deepest wounds can create the most beautiful art. And sometimes the longest journeys lead you exactly where you need to be.
The vanilla buttercream frosting trembled in my hands as I piped "Happy Birthday, Annabelle" onto the cake. 9 perfect roses, one for each year of my daughter's life. Everything had to be perfect today, even if I was running on 3 hours of sleep and enough coffee to fuel a small army. My name is Heidi, and I've spent the last 4 years making sure my daughter never feels the void her father left when he walked out on us. Today would test that resolve more than ever. Mom, is Daddy really coming? Annabelle's voice carried from the living room where she was arranging party favors in rainbow order. Yes, sweetie, he promised. I steadied my hand on the last rose, refusing to let my anxiety ruin the decorations. The doorbell chimed and I heard Nancy's familiar voice greeting Annabelle. There's my birthday girl. Nancy swept into the kitchen, her arms full of gift bags. Heidi, honey, you look like you're about to snap that piping bag in half. Is it that obvious? I forced my shoulders to relax, only to someone who's known you since college. She set down the bags and grabbed my hands. Listen, if Kian acts up today, I'll personally throw him face first into that beautiful cake. I managed to laugh. Don't tempt me, I spent 6 hours on this thing. The doorbell started ringing more frequently as parents dropped off their kids. Soon the house filled with the chaos of 9-year-olds playing party games. I kept glancing at the clock, knowing Kian would make his entrance at the last possible moment. He always did. When he finally arrived 2 hours late, my heart stopped. Because he wasn't alone. "Daddy!" Annabelle rushed to the door but froze mid-step when she saw the woman beside him. Delilah, his former assistant, stood there in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. "Princess!" Kian scooped up our daughter, but his eyes locked onto mine over her shoulder. "I hope you don't mind, but I brought someone special. This is Delilah, and well..." He paused for dramatic effect, something he knew I always hated. "She's your new stepmom." The room went silent. Even the kids seemed to sense the tension, their game of musical chairs forgotten. Nancy appeared at my side, her hand squeezing my arm in silent support. "When?" The word came out stronger than I felt. "Last weekend in Vegas." Delilah's voice was honey-sweet as she showed off a ring that could probably pay for Annabelle's college tuition. "We wanted to surprise everyone." Annabelle wiggled out of Kian's arms, her face scrunched in confusion. "But Daddy, you said you were sick last weekend. That's why you couldn't come to my recital." I watched Kian's smile falter for a split second. "Princess, sometimes grown-ups have to make hard choices, but I'm here now and I brought you the biggest present ever." "Actually," Nancy stepped forward, her voice carrying across the room, "we were just about to do cake. Kids, who wants to sing happy birthday?" The children's excitement returned instantly, and they scrambled toward the dining room. As I carried out the cake, my hands steady despite the storm inside me, I caught Kian watching me. That same smug look he'd worn 4 years ago when he'd announced he was leaving, confident that his charm and money would shield him from any consequences. But this time was different. This time, I had something he didn't know about. "Make a wish, sweetheart," I said as Annabelle beamed at her candles. She closed her eyes tight, and in that moment I made a wish too. Not for revenge, exactly, but for justice. For all the recitals missed, the weekend visits cancelled, the tears I'd dried in the middle of the night. "Mrs. Nelson?" A deep voice caught my attention. Robert, Kian's boss, stood nearby with his daughter. I hadn't even noticed him arrive. "Beautiful party. I hear Kian's up for that VP position next month." "Is he now?" I smiled, thinking of the folder hidden in my desk drawer upstairs, the one containing every broken promise, every lie, every document that proved exactly who Kian MacDonald really was. As my daughter blew out her candles to a chorus of cheers, I watched Kian pull Delilah close, whispering something in her ear that made her giggle. They looked perfect together, just like he'd planned. But plans can change. And, sometimes, karma needs a little push in the right direction. "Mom?" Annabelle tugged at my sleeve. "Can we open presents now?" "Of course, baby." I smoothed her hair, already plotting my next move. "Let's make this a birthday no one will forget." After the cake, I escaped to the kitchen under the pretense of getting more paper plates. Nancy followed, closing the door behind her. "Okay, spill it. You've got that look," she said, leaning against the counter. "What look?" "The same look you had before you exposed that corrupt professor in college. You're planning something." I pulled open a drawer, pretending to search for plates I didn't need. "He got married, Nancy. In Vegas, while he was supposed to be at his daughter's dance recital. I know, honey, he's trash." Nancy lowered her voice as children's laughter filtered through the door. "But whatever you're thinking about doing..." "Did you see Robert out there?" I interrupted, closing the drawer with more force than necessary. "Kian's boss? The one who's about to promote him to VP? "Heidi." Nancy's tone carried a warning. "You know what the worst part is?" My hand shook as I gripped the counter. "Last month, when I asked Kian for help with Annabelle's medical bills, he claimed he was broke. Broke. But he could afford that rock on Delilah's finger." A soft knock interrupted us. Annabelle peeked in, her party crown slightly askew. "Mom? Daddy wants to make a speech." "Of course he does," I muttered. but plastered on a smile. "We'll be right there, sweetie." Back in the living room, Kian had commanded center stage, champagne flute in hand. The parents gathered around while the kids continued playing in the background. Delilah stood beside him, practically glowing as she gazed up at her new husband. "I'd like to make a toast," Kian announced, flashing that $1,000,000 smile that once made my knees weak. "To my beautiful daughter, Annabelle. 9 years ago, you made me a father, and today you've given me another gift, accepting Delilah into our family with such grace." I felt bile rise in my throat. Annabelle hadn't accepted anything. She'd barely had time to process the bomb they'd dropped. "And to Heidi," he continued, turning toward me. "Thank you for being such an understanding ex-wife." Robert chuckled, raising his glass. "You're a lucky man, Kian. Not many divorced couples can be this civil." "Oh, we're just getting started," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Excuse me for a moment." I climbed the stairs to my home office, my fingers trailing along the wall to steady myself. The folder sat in my desk drawer, exactly where I'd left it. 4 years of documented lies, broken promises, and something much worse. Evidence of his drinking problem that he'd managed to hide from everyone at work. "Don't do it." Nancy stood in the doorway. "Think about Annabelle." "I am thinking about Annabelle." I pulled out the folder. Every time she cries because he cancels at the last minute. Every time she asks why Daddy doesn't love her enough to show up. He's about to become VP of the company, Nancy. You know what that means? More responsibility, more travel, more broken promises. And if you destroy his career, then maybe he'll finally face consequences for once in his privileged life. I opened the folder, revealing photos of Kian passed out in his car outside bars, screenshots of texts cancelling on Annabelle, bank statements showing large withdrawals before claiming poverty. Nancy stepped closer, her eyes widening at the contents. "How long have you been collecting this?" "Since the divorce, I knew. I knew someday he'd push too far." I closed the folder. He's not just hurting Annabelle anymore. Did you see how young Delilah is? He's already doing to her what he did to me, and she doesn't even realize it. "Mom?" Annabelle's voice drifted up the stairs. "Where are you? We're opening presents." "Coming, sweetie," I called back, then turned to Nancy. "I have to do this, not just for revenge, but because it's right." Nancy studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, but whatever happens, I'm right here with you." We descended the stairs to find Kian holding court in the living room, one arm around Delilah as he regaled Robert with stories about his latest business deals. Annabelle sat cross-legged by her pile of presents, but her eyes kept drifting to her father and his new wife. I clutched the folder behind my back, my heart pounding. One move could change everything, destroy his career, hurt Annabelle. But as I watched him perform for his audience, completely ignoring his daughter on her birthday, I knew what I had to do. "Kian," I said, stepping forward. "Before we open presents, there's something I need to share with everyone." The folder felt heavy in my hands as I approached him, years of pain and anger condensed into manila and paper. Delilah's smile faltered as she noticed my expression, but it was Robert's curious look that gave me the final push I needed. Sometimes karma needs evidence to do its job. "Actually," Kian interrupted, setting down his champagne flute, "let's do presents first. Princess, want to see what Daddy got you?" "Kian," my voice cut through the room like ice. "This can't wait." I placed the folder on the coffee table between us. The room grew quiet, save for the muffled giggles of children playing in the backyard. Thank God Nancy had the foresight to usher them outside. "What's this?" Robert asked, leaning forward with interest. "Just some old paperwork," Kian said quickly, reaching for the folder. I placed my hand firmly on top of it. "You know what's interesting about paperwork?" I smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes. It tells stories, like how someone can claim they're too broke to help with their daughter's medical bills while spending thousands at bars and casinos. Kian's face paled. "Heidi, don't..." Or how someone can miss their daughter's recital claiming to be sick when really they were in Vegas getting married. I opened the folder, pulling out a stack of photos. But my personal favourite is how someone can drive drunk multiple times, yet somehow keep it quiet at work. Robert straightened in his chair. "Excuse me?" "She's lying." Delilah jumped in, her perfectly manicured hand gripping Kian's arm. "This is just a bitter ex-wife trying to cause trouble. Pictures don't lie." I spread the photos across the table. "Neither do police reports, or bank statements, or the dozens of texts cancelling on your daughter at the last minute." The room fell silent as Robert picked up one of the photos. It showed Kian slumped over his steering wheel outside the Red Door bar, dated just 3 weeks ago. "Mum?" Annabelle's small voice made me freeze. She stood in the doorway clutching her new stuffed unicorn. "What's happening?" "Nothing, Princess," Kian said quickly. "Your mum's just showing some boring grown-up stuff." "Is that you in the pictures, Daddy?" She stepped closer, peering at the scattered photos. "Why are you sleeping in your car?" "Annabelle, honey." Nancy appeared behind her. "Let's go check on your friends outside. I think Sarah's looking for you." But Annabelle stood her ground, her 9-year-old face set with determination. "Is this why you didn't come to my recital? Were you sleeping in your car again?" The silence that followed was deafening. Delilah's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Robert gathered the photos with trembling hands, his face growing darker with each one he examined. "Kian," Robert's voice was dangerously quiet. "My office, first thing Monday morning." "Robert, please!" Kian stood, desperation cracking through his polished facade. "I can explain everything. These photos are old, they're—" "3 weeks ago isn't old," I cut in. "Neither is last weekend in Vegas." "You vindictive bitch," he hissed under his breath. "Daddy!" Annabelle gasped. "That's a bad word." "I think," Nancy stepped forward, her hand on Annabelle's shoulder, "it's time for cake and ice cream in the backyard. Who's with me?" The remaining adults quickly followed Nancy and Annabelle outside, leaving me alone with Kian, Delilah, and Robert. The sound of children singing Happy Birthday drifted through the windows, a surreal backdrop to the tension in the room. "How long?" Robert demanded. "How long have you been hiding this drinking problem?" "I don't have a problem," Kian insisted. "This is all being blown out of proportion." "Really?" I pulled out one final piece of paper. "Because according to this credit card statement, you spent over $5,000 at bars last month alone. The same month you told me you couldn't afford Annabelle's inhaler." Delilah snatched the statement, her eyes widening as she read. "This is from our joint account, the one you said was for emergencies." "Delilah, baby." Kian reached for her, but she stepped back. "Don't baby me. We just maxed out my credit cards for our wedding because you said all your money was tied up in investments." Robert stood, gathering the folder and its contents. "I've seen enough. Kian, this isn't just about the VP position anymore. We need to seriously discuss your future with the company." As Robert headed for the door, Kian's carefully constructed world crumbling around him, I felt no joy. Only a heavy, sad certainty that this had been necessary. "You've ruined everything," he spat at me. "No, Kian." I looked toward the backyard where Annabelle was blowing out her candles again, surrounded by friends. "You did that all on your own. I just showed everyone the truth." Through the window, I could see Annabelle making her wish. This time, I hoped it would be for something better than a father who couldn't keep his promises. The party continued outside, but the atmosphere in my living room had turned toxic. Kian paced back and forth while Delilah sat on the couch frantically typing on her phone. "Who are you texting?" Kian snapped at her. "My sister," Delilah replied without looking up. "Asking if I can stay with her for a few days." "You're not going anywhere?" He reached for her phone, but she pulled it away. "Don't." Her voice trembled. "Just don't." I moved toward the kitchen, wanting to give them space, but Kian's voice stopped me. "This isn't over, Heidi." "It should be," I said, turning back. "Go home, sober up, and figure out how to be a better father." "A better father?" He laughed, harsh and hollow. "I provide for her. I buy her things. What else does a 9-year-old need?" "Time," I said. "Attention. Love. Basic things that shouldn't need explaining." A knock at the door interrupted us. Robert had returned, his face grim. Forgot my briefcase. He paused, looking at Kian. The board will hear about this first thing Monday. I suggest you come prepared with an explanation. Robert, please. Kian's voice shifted to that smooth, persuasive tone I knew too well. We've been friends for years. You know me. Do I? Robert retrieved his briefcase. Because the Kian I thought I knew wouldn't drive drunk or abandon his child? I never... Save it for Monday, Robert turned to me. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Heidi. As a father myself, I can't ignore this kind of behavior. After Robert left, Delilah stood abruptly. I need some air. She hurried outside, still clutching her phone. Happy now? Kian rounded on me. You've destroyed everything I've worked for. Everything you've worked for. I stepped closer, anger finally breaking through. What about what I've worked for? Do you know how many extra shifts I picked up to pay for Annabelle's medical bills? How many nights I stayed up helping her with homework while you were passed out in bar parking lots? Mom, Annabelle's voice made us both jump. She stood in the doorway, cake frosting smeared on her cheek. Are you and Daddy fighting? No, sweetie, I started, but Kian cut me off. Yes, we are, because your mother just ruined Daddy's job. Kian, I hissed, but the damage was done. Annabelle's lower lip trembled. Is that true, Mom? Before I could answer, Nancy appeared behind her. Hey, kiddo, Tommy's about to break the piñata. You don't want to miss that, right? I want to know what's happening, Annabelle insisted, her voice small but determined. I knelt down to her level. Sometimes grown-ups make bad choices, and those choices have consequences. Like when I didn't do my homework and had to miss recess. Something like that, I managed a smile, but much bigger. Through the window, I saw Delilah pacing in the backyard, still on her phone. She was gesturing frantically, and even from here I could see tears on her cheeks. Is Delilah going to be my stepmom anymore? Annabelle asked. Kian made a choked sound. Of course she is. Everything's fine. Don't lie to her, I snapped. Not anymore. Then you explain it, he challenged. Explain to our daughter how you just couldn't let me be happy. Nancy stepped forward. Okay, that's enough. Annabelle, honey, let's go join your friends. But now, sweetie. Nancy's tone left no room for argument. She led Annabelle outside, shooting me a supportive look over her shoulder. As soon as they left, Kian's phone buzzed. He checked it, his face darkening. The board wants to meet tonight, not Monday. Tonight. He looked at me with pure hatred. I hope you're satisfied. I'm not, I said honestly. I wish none of this was necessary. I wish you'd just been the father Annabelle deserves. Through the window, I watched Delilah end her call and wipe her eyes. She looked at her wedding ring, then slowly slipped it off her finger. Your new wife is about to leave you, I said quietly. Your job is in jeopardy. But you know what the saddest part is? You're still not thinking about how this affects Annabelle. Don't tell me what I'm thinking, he growled, but his eyes darted to the window where Delilah was approaching, ring in hand. You should go, I said. Deal with your board meeting. Talk to your wife. But mostly figure out how to explain to your daughter why you keep choosing everything else over her. As Delilah entered, her mascara streaked and her hand clutching her wedding ring, I stepped out onto the back porch. The sound of children laughing mixed with the crack of the piñata breaking open, candy raining down like tiny meteors of joy. Sometimes the hardest consequences to face are the ones we bring upon ourselves. The party wound down as parents arrived to collect their sugar-buzzed children. Each time the doorbell rang, I held my breath, expecting Kian to reappear. He and Delilah had left an hour ago in separate cars, leaving Annabelle clutching her unopened present from them. Can I open Daddy's gift now? She asked, sitting cross-legged on the floor amid wrapping paper debris. Of course, sweetie. I sat beside her, watching as she carefully unwrapped the large box. Inside was an iPad Pro, still in its sealed package. Annabelle's face lit up for a moment, then fell. This is like the one he got me for Christmas. What do you mean? The one he took back because he said it was too expensive. She pushed the box away. Is he going to take this one back too? Nancy, who'd stayed to help clean up, exchanged a look with me over Annabelle's head. Hey, kiddo, she said. Want to help me pack up the leftover cake? No, Annabelle's voice was firm. I want someone to tell me what's really going on. Why did Daddy leave? Why was Delilah crying? Why did Mr. Robert look so angry? I took a deep breath. Remember when we talked about telling the truth, even when it's hard? She nodded. Well, Daddy hasn't been telling the truth about a lot of things. And today those untruths caught up with him. Like when I lied about eating cookies before dinner and you found the crumbs. Despite everything, I had to smile. Something like that. But bigger lies that hurt more people. The doorbell rang again. Through the window, I saw Robert's car in the driveway. Nancy, could you... Come on, Annabelle, Nancy said quickly. Let's go count your birthday money. Maybe we can find something better than an iPad to buy. As they headed upstairs, I opened the door. Robert looked exhausted, his tie loosened and jacket wrinkled. I'm sorry to interrupt, he said, but I thought you should know. The board meeting just ended. Already? I glanced at the clock. It had only been 2 hours. It didn't take long. The evidence was compelling. He ran a hand through his grey hair. We've suspended Kian pending a full investigation, the DUI incidents alone. He shook his head. I never wanted to destroy his career, I said softly. I just couldn't watch him hurt Annabelle anymore. You did the right thing. Robert's voice was firm. I have daughters too. If I'd known sooner. A crash from upstairs made us both jump. No! Annabelle's voice carried down the stairs. I want to talk to Daddy. I found her in my office, my phone in her hands, tears streaming down her face. Nancy stood helplessly nearby. He won't answer, Annabelle sobbed. I called 4 times. Oh, baby. I pulled her into my arms, feeling her small body shake with sobs. Is it my fault? She whispered against my shoulder. Did I do something wrong? No, I said fiercely. None of this is your fault. Your daddy. He's dealing with some grown-up problems right now. Problems he created himself, Nancy added, then winced when I shot her a look. Robert cleared his throat from the doorway. Annabelle, may I say something? She lifted her tear-stained face and nodded. Sometimes, he said, kneeling to her level, grown-ups make mistakes, big ones, and when they do, they have to face consequences. But that doesn't mean they don't love their children. Then why won't he answer? She demanded. Because, I said, smoothing her hair, right now he's probably feeling very scared and angry, but that's about him, not you, never you. My phone buzzed in Annabelle's hand, a text from Delilah. I'm at my sister's. The ring is in his mailbox. I'm so sorry about everything. Is that Daddy? Annabelle asked hopefully. No, sweetie. I took the phone gently. But you know what? It's still your birthday. And we have leftover cake, and Nancy's here, and you haven't even opened half your presents yet. I don't want the iPad, she said suddenly. Can we take it back? Of course. And buy books instead? I hugged her tighter, proud of her resilience, even as my heart broke for her pain. We can buy all the books you want. Robert stood, straightening his tie. I should go. Heidi will be in touch about the investigation. After he left, Nancy brought up 3 slices of cake, and we sat on the floor of my office, eating straight from the plates like we were all 9 years old. Mom, Annabelle asked between bites, are you sure Daddy still loves me? I met Nancy's eyes over Annabelle's head, seeing my own pain reflected there. Sometimes the hardest part of parenting isn't protecting our children from others' mistakes. It's helping them understand why those mistakes happened in the first place. The doorbell rang at midnight. Nancy had gone home an hour ago, and Annabelle was finally asleep, clutching her old teddy bear instead of the new iPad. I knew who it was before I opened the door. You've got some nerve showing up here, I said, stepping onto the porch and closing the door behind me. Kian stood there, his perfect appearance from earlier now dishevelled, his eyes red. I need to see her. She's asleep and you're drunk, he swayed slightly. I lost everything today. My job, my wife, my reputation. Because of you. Because of you, I corrected. I just exposed what you did. You're the one who did it. Please, his voice cracked. Just let me explain to her. She won't answer my calls. She's 9, Kian. She shouldn't have to answer calls from her drunk father at midnight. A car slowed as it passed my house, and I recognized Delilah behind the wheel. She parked across the street but didn't get out, just sat there watching us. She left me, Kian said, following my gaze. Took all her things and left. Can you blame her? You lied to her too. He slumped against the porch railing. The board suspended me. Pending investigation. Do you know what that means? No salary, no benefits, no more expensive bars, I cut in. No more gambling with money that should have gone to your daughter's medical bills. I can change, he whispered. I'll get help. I'll do whatever it takes. Good. You should. But not for me. Not for your job. Not even for Delilah. Do it for Annabelle. The front door creaked open behind me. Annabelle stood there in her unicorn pajamas, eyes wide. Daddy? Princess? Kian straightened, trying to hide his intoxicated state. I came to say, you smell like the stuff Mom says is only for grown-ups. She wrinkled her nose. I had a bad day, sweetheart. Because of the pictures. The ones of you sleeping in your car. He flinched. Those pictures, they don't tell the whole story. Then what is the whole story? She demanded, suddenly sounding older than her 9 years. Why did you miss my recital? Why did you lie? Across the street, Delilah finally got out of her car. She walked toward us slowly, her heels clicking on the pavement. I think, she said, reaching the bottom of the porch steps, your daddy needs to get some help before he can answer those questions. Delilah, Kian turned to her, hope flashing across his face. You came back. Not for you. She looked at Annabelle. I came to say goodbye properly. You deserve that much. You're not going to be my stepmom anymore? No, sweetie, I'm sorry. Annabelle nodded slowly. That's okay. Mom says sometimes people have to leave to take care of themselves. I felt a surge of pride through my tears. When did my little girl get so wise? Kian, Delilah's voice was firm, your sister's waiting at your house. She's going to take you to that rehabilitation center we talked about. You called Rachel? He looked betrayed. Someone had to. You need help. Daddy? Annabelle's small voice cut through the tension. Are you sick? Like when I had to go to the hospital for my breathing? Kian's face crumpled. Something like that, Princess. But different. I haven't been making good choices. Will getting help make you better? So you can come to my recitals? I hope so. He reached for her, then stopped himself, looking at me for permission. I nodded slightly and he hugged our daughter, careful to keep his distance from me. I'm sorry, he whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry. Prove it, I said quietly. Not with words or presents or promises, with actions. Delilah touched his arm gently. Rachel's waiting. It's time. He released Annabelle, stepping back. Will you let me call her when I'm better? That depends on you, I said. Show us you're serious about getting help. Show her you can be the father she deserves. As Delilah led him to her car, Annabelle slipped her hand into mine. Mom, is Daddy going to the hospital? Something like that. A special place where they help people make better choices. We watched the car drive away, Annabelle's hand warm in mine. After a moment, she looked up at me. Can we take the iPad back tomorrow? Of course, why? I want to donate the money to the hospital, the one that helps me breathe better. She paused. Maybe they can help other kids while Daddy gets better too. I pulled her close, marveling at how children can sometimes teach us more about forgiveness and hope than we could ever teach them. 3 days after the party, Robert called me into his office. The corporate building loomed over me, all glass and steel, as I rode the elevator to the executive floor. Thank you for coming, he said, gesturing to a chair. We need to discuss some complications. Complications? He slid a folder across his desk. Not mine, but one bearing the company logo. Kian's lawyers have been in touch. They're claiming wrongful termination and defamation. He wasn't terminated, I said. He was suspended. They're arguing the suspension itself is damaging his reputation. Robert removed his glasses, rubbing his eyes. They want us to reinstate him immediately with full benefits and a public apology. Or what? Or they'll sue. Not just the company, but you personally. My hands clenched in my lap. He's trying to bully me into silence. Again. A knock at the door interrupted us. Delilah entered, looking professional but tired. "Sorry I'm late," she said, taking the seat next to me. "Traffic was horrible." "You asked her to come?" I turned to Robert. "I asked to come," Delilah corrected, "because I have something you both need to see." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through it before placing it on the desk. A video played. Kian in their kitchen, clearly drunk, ranting about the company, about me, about everyone he felt had wronged him. "I recorded it the night before Annabelle's party," Delilah said quietly. "I was scared. He'd been getting worse." "When was this taken?" Robert asked, leaning forward. "Last Friday, the night before we went to Vegas." She swallowed hard. "He said we had to get married right away before something happened." "Before what happened?" "Before the audit." Robert and I both looked at him. He knew the quarterly audit was coming up. He'd been falsifying expense reports, hiding his drinking binges as client meetings. Robert's face darkened. "How long?" "At least 6 months. Maybe longer." She pulled up more videos, more evidence. "I started documenting everything after I found him passed out in his office one morning. I thought I could help him change." "By marrying him?" I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. "By giving him an ultimatum. Get help or I'd show these to the board." She met my eyes. "But then he dragged me to Vegas instead. Said everything would be fine if we just got married right away." I was stupid enough to believe him. Robert stood, pacing behind his desk. "This changes everything. With this evidence, the lawsuit won't stand." "There's more," Delilah said. "The night of the party, after the board meeting, he didn't go to the rehabilitation center. His sister waited for hours, but he never showed up." My blood ran cold. "Then where is he?" "At the Red Door Bar. He's been there every night since." She showed us a final photo. Kian slumped at the bar, dated just last night. "He's spiraling, and I'm worried he'll do something desperate. Like sue everyone who tried to help him," I said bitterly. "Like hurt himself. Or someone else." Delilah's voice cracked. "He keeps talking about making things right, but his idea of right is scary." Robert picked up his phone. "I'm calling our legal team. With this evidence, we can file a countersuit and—" "No," I interrupted. "No more suits. No more legal battles." I stood up. "I'm going to the Red Door." "Heidi, don't!" Delilah grabbed my arm. "He's dangerous right now." "He's Annabelle's father. And he's drowning." I pulled free. "Sometimes rock bottom needs a witness." "Then I'm coming with you," she said, standing. "Me too," Robert added. "Let me call security." "No." I headed for the door. "Just me and Delilah. He needs to see what he's losing, not what he's fighting." In the elevator, Delilah turned to me. "Why are you doing this, after everything he's done?" "Because my daughter asked me this morning when Daddy was coming home from the hospital." I pressed the lobby button. "I'm tired of lying to her. And if he refuses help, then at least we can tell her we tried. That's more than he's done so far." As we drove to the Red Door, I thought about the folder that started all this. How I'd thought exposing his secrets would bring justice, when really, it had just revealed how deep his problems went. Sometimes karma doesn't just deliver consequences. It delivers opportunities for change. The question was whether Kian would finally take this opportunity, or if he'd keep drowning in his own denial. The Red Door's neon sign flickered in the afternoon sun as we parked. Through the window, I could see him at the bar, exactly where Delilah's photo had shown him. "Ready?" Delilah asked. "No," I admitted. "But Annabelle deserves better than a father who hides in bars, so let's go give him one last chance to be that better person." The Red Door's stale air hit us as we entered. Kian didn't look up when we approached, just stared into his glass like it held all the answers he'd been searching for. "You're done," I said quietly. He laughed, hollow and bitter. "Come to gloat?" "No, come to give you a choice." I placed my phone on the bar, showing a photo of Annabelle at her recital, the one he'd missed. "You can stay here, drink yourself into oblivion, and lose everything that matters. Or you can get up right now and come with us." "Where?" He finally looked up, his eyes bloodshot. To another board meeting, another humiliation. To rehab, Delilah said. For real this time. The bartender drifted over. Another round? No, I said firmly. He's done. You can't decide that for me, Kian snapped. No, but Annabelle can. I played a video on my phone, Annabelle sitting on her bed, recorded this morning. Hi, Daddy, her voice rang clear through the speaker. Mum says you're sick, like when I can't breathe right. Remember when you took me to the hospital and said the doctors would make me better? Maybe other doctors can make you better too. I miss you. Kian's hand shook as he reached for the phone. Turn it off. She made me promise to show you. I let the video play. She said maybe you just needed to remember what matters. I don't deserve her, he whispered. No, you don't, Delilah agreed. Not right now, but you could. The lawyers... Drop the lawsuit, I cut in. Use that money for treatment instead. Show her you can be better. He stared at his glass for a long moment. What if I fail? Then you fail trying to be better, instead of succeeding at being worse. The bartender returned. Last call? Kian pushed the glass away. No, I'm done. Outside, Rachel's car waited in the parking lot. She stepped out, relief washing over her face when she saw her brother walking under his own power. The center has a bed ready, she said. They can take you now. Kian turned to me. Will you tell her that I'm really going this time? I'll tell her you're fighting to get better. The rest is up to you. I'll send you updates, Rachel promised as she helped him into the car. Weekly reports if you want them. No, I shook my head. Let him earn the right to give updates himself, when he's ready. As Rachel's car pulled away, Delilah touched my arm. Why did you really come today? Because revenge wasn't the answer. I watched the car disappear around the corner. Annabelle deserves to know we tried everything before letting go. My phone buzzed. A text from Nancy. Annabelle's asking about dinner. Everything okay? Want to grab pizza? I asked Delilah. I know a 9-year-old who'd love to hear how her father's finally getting help. She smiled, tears in her eyes. I'd like that. At home, Annabelle launched herself into my arms. Did you find Daddy? Is he going to the hospital? Yes, baby, he's getting help. Real help this time, Delilah added, setting the pizza on the counter. Nancy raised an eyebrow at Delilah's presence, but said nothing as Annabelle dragged her new almost stepmom to see her book collection. You know this might not work, Nancy said quietly. I know. But she needs to see we tried, that sometimes love means making hard choices. Like showing those photos. Like giving someone a chance to change, even when they've hurt you. Annabelle's laugh drifted from her room as she showed Delilah her favorite stories. Stories about redemption, about second chances, about people choosing to be better. My phone buzzed again. A message from Robert. Board-approved medical leave for Kian. Treatment fully covered. You did the right thing. I watched Annabelle teaching Delilah her special pizza eating technique, folding it just so to catch all the toppings. Two people connected by a man who'd hurt them both, finding comfort in each other's strength. Mom, Annabelle called. Can we read my new book? The one about the dad who learns to be brave? Of course, baby. As I joined them, watching my daughter snuggle between me and the woman who could have been her stepmother, I realized something important. Sometimes the biggest act of revenge isn't exposing someone's secrets or destroying their life. Sometimes it's showing them exactly what they could lose, then giving them one last chance to save it. Read the part about being brave again, Annabelle requested, her eyes heavy with sleep. And so we did. 3 people bound by love for a little girl, hoping that somewhere across town, her father was finally finding the courage to be brave too. Not for revenge, not for karma, but for the chance to be worthy of his daughter's love. That's the thing about karma. Sometimes it doesn't just deliver justice. Sometimes it delivers hope.
I stared at my reflection in the mirror, watching my hands tremble as I adjusted my veil for the 100th time. The text from my sister still burned on my phone screen. Can't wait to share the big surprise at your wedding. It'll be unforgettable. My name is Lorelei, and in 3 hours, I was supposed to be having the happiest day of my life. Instead, my stomach churned with dread, knowing my younger sister Zariah would find some way to steal the spotlight, just like she always had. "Don't you dare let her get to you," Rachel said, appearing behind me in the mirror. My best friend and maid of honor gripped my shoulders firmly. "This is your day." I forced a smile. "You know Zariah. She's probably planning to announce she's pregnant with triplets, or that she's been cast in a Hollywood movie. Or maybe she'll claim she's been secretly dating Brad Pitt." Rachel rolled her eyes, making me laugh despite myself. The bridal suite door burst open, and my mother swept in, wearing her signature look of barely concealed disapproval. "Lorelei, darling, why aren't you ready yet? And what's wrong with your hair?" "The hair is perfect, Samantha," Virginia, my wedding planner, intercepted smoothly. "I've been doing this for 20 years, trust me." Mom pursed her lips. "Well, Zariah's hair looked absolutely stunning at her engagement party last month." "The engagement party she threw herself," Rachel muttered under her breath. I caught Virginia's knowing look in the mirror. She'd been our family friend for years and had seen firsthand how Zariah operated. More importantly, she'd helped me prepare for today in ways my sister would never suspect. "Has anyone seen my earrings?" I asked, trying to change the subject. "Oh, speaking of jewelry," Mom brightened, "Zariah wanted to loan you her diamond bracelet. She said it would be perfect for—" "No," I cut her off firmly. "I'm wearing Grandma's pearls, the ones she left specifically for my wedding day." Mom's face fell. "But your sister—" "Mom," I turned to face her directly, "this is my wedding, not Zariah's." The door opened again and my father poked his head in. "There's my beautiful girl." His warm smile faltered slightly as he read the room's tension. "Everything okay in here?" "Perfect, Daddy," I managed a genuine smile. At least he'd always tried to treat us equally, even if he rarely succeeded in standing up to Mom's obvious favoritism. "Well, Frankie's already here, looking sharp as ever," Dad said, though he seems a bit nervous, kept checking his phone. My heart skipped. "Nervous? Did he say why?" "Probably just wedding jitters," Rachel jumped in quickly. "I'll go check on him." As Rachel left, Virginia shooed everyone else out to give the bride some space. Once we were alone, she closed the door and turned to me with serious eyes. "Are you sure about this, honey?" Once we set things in motion, I picked up my phone and pulled up Zariah's text again. Below it was a series of screenshots I'd collected over the years, evidence of her systematic attempts to sabotage my relationships, including my early dates with Frankie. The latest was from just last week, a message she'd accidentally sent me instead of her friend, detailing her plans for my wedding day. "I'm sure," I said firmly. "I've spent my whole life watching her tear me down to build herself up. She tried to break me and Frankie up 3 times before we got engaged. She's not ruining this day." Virginia squeezed my hand. "The video is ready. Just give me the signal during the reception." A knock at the door made us both jump. Rachel slipped back in, her face tight with concern. "Frankie's fine," she said quickly, "but I just overheard Zariah on the phone. She's definitely planning something for the ceremony. And she's got Darren with her." "Darren?" I frowned. "Her ex from college?" "Apparently not so ex anymore." Rachel's expression darkened. "They seemed cozy." I took a deep breath, smoothing down my dress. Part of me wanted to cry, but a stronger part, the part that had been methodically planning this day for months, felt strangely calm. "Let her try," I said, meeting my own eyes in the mirror. "I'm done being her supporting actress. She wants to make this day unforgettable. Fine, but this time I'm directing the show." Virginia and Rachel exchanged glances as I stood up straighter, adjusted my veil one final time, and reached for my bouquet. "Ready?" Dad called through the door. "Ready," I answered, and for the first time that morning, I meant it. Zariah had no idea what was coming, but she was about to learn that karma could be just as attention-seeking as she was. The church doors opened, and Wagner's bridal chorus filled the air. My heart pounded as Dad squeezed my arm, whispering, "You look beautiful, sweetheart." I caught sight of Frankie at the altar, and everything else faded away for a moment. His eyes lit up as they met mine, that crooked smile I fell in love with spreading across his face. Even from here, I could see him blinking back tears. Then I spotted Zariah in the front row, wearing a dress that definitely pushed the boundaries of appropriate wedding guest attire. She was practically bouncing in her seat, whispering to Darren beside her. My step faltered slightly, but Dad steadied me. "Just look at Frankie," he murmured. "Nothing else matters." The ceremony began beautifully. Father Matthews welcomed everyone warmly, and I managed to keep my voice steady through our traditional vows. Then came the moment for our personal ones. Frankie pulled out a small piece of paper, his hands shaking slightly. "Lorelei," he began, "before I met you, I was lost. I'd given up on finding real love, convinced myself it wasn't worth the risk." He paused, swallowing hard. "Then you walked into that coffee shop, ordered a triple shot espresso, and proceeded to spill it all over my laptop." Laughter rippled through the church. I couldn't help giggling through my tears, remembering that disastrous first meeting. "You were so mortified," he continued. "You insisted on buying me coffee every day for a week to make up for it. By day 3, I was already falling for you. Your kindness, your strength, your ability to light up any room. You made me believe in love again." I opened my mouth to begin my own vows, but movement in the front row caught my eye. Zariah was standing up. "I'm sorry," she called out, her voice carrying through the church. "I just can't hold it in anymore. Darren and I are engaged." The church fell silent. I felt Frankie's hand tighten around mine as Zariah practically dragged Darren to his feet. "We wanted to wait to announce it," she continued, beaming at the shocked congregation. "But seeing all this love today, I just couldn't keep our joy to ourselves anymore. Isn't it amazing? We'll be planning our own wedding soon." Mum was already dabbing at her eyes, exclaiming, "Oh, my baby," while Dad looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. I caught Rachel's eye from where she stood with my other bridesmaids. She was practically vibrating with rage, but I gave her a subtle shake of my head. "Not yet." "That's wonderful news, Zariah," I said, keeping my voice steady. "But perhaps we could return to the ceremony." Of course," Zariah gushed, still standing. "I just thought, since we're all here celebrating love, what better moment? Darren and I want to share our story too. We actually reconnected at your engagement party, Lorelei. Remember when you were too busy to talk to your own sister?" Father Matthews cleared his throat. "Perhaps this discussion could wait for the reception." "Oh, but this is so much more intimate," Zariah protested. "And Darren's already ordered champagne for everyone." "Zariah," Frankie's voice cut through her rambling, surprisingly firm. "Sit down, now." Something in his tone made her pause. She blinked, then slowly sank back into her seat, though her triumphant smile remained firmly in place. I squeezed Frankie's hand in gratitude before turning back to Father Matthews. "My vows," I said clearly, pulling out my own paper. My hands weren't shaking anymore. If anything, Zariah's interruption had only strengthened my resolve. "Frankie," I began, "you came into my life when I'd started to doubt myself, when I'd begun to believe the voices telling me I wasn't enough." I saw Zariah shift uncomfortably in my peripheral vision. "But you saw me, really saw me. You taught me that real love isn't about competition or attention. It's about support, trust, and standing together against whatever life throws at us." I took a deep breath, looking directly into his eyes. "I promise to always be your partner in every sense of the word, to face our challenges together, to celebrate our joys as one, and to never let anyone come between the truth of what we share." The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur of rings and prayers. When Father Matthews finally pronounced us husband and wife, Frankie pulled me into a kiss that felt like a promise of its own. As we turned to face our guests as Mr. and Mrs., I caught sight of Virginia in the back of the church, giving me a subtle thumbs up. The video was ready. Zariah might think she'd won this round, but the reception was about to give her a surprise of her own. After all, karma doesn't always wait for the next life to come calling. "Ready to face the crowd, Mrs. Rivera?" Frankie whispered as we prepared to walk back down the aisle. I smiled, genuine and bright. "More than ready. The real show's about to begin." The reception hall buzzed with whispered conversations as guests found their seats. Zariah had somehow managed to position herself at the center of attention, showing off her engagement ring to anyone who would look. Mum hovered nearby, practically glowing with pride. "I can't believe she actually did it," Rachel muttered, adjusting my train as we prepared for our entrance. "In the middle of your vows." "Oh, I can believe it," I said, watching through the doorway as Zariah dramatically recounted her magical proposal story for the third time. "Remember my high school graduation? When she announced she'd been accepted to Yale?" Rachel rolled her eyes. "Even though she ended up going to community college 2 months later." "Or my college graduation," I added, "when she fainted during my valedictorian speech. The smelling salts were a nice touch," Frankie chimed in, appearing beside me. "Though not as creative as the sudden illness at your promotion party last year." I turned to face him, straightening his boutonniere. "You know what the worst part is? She actually tried to warn me this time. That text wasn't a slip-up. She wanted me to spend my entire wedding day dreading whatever she had planned." "Well," Rachel's smile turned wicked. "She's about to learn about karma." The DJ's voice boomed through the speakers, announcing our entrance. As Frankie and I stepped into the reception hall, the crowd erupted in applause. Everyone except Zariah, who was busy showing Darren something on her phone. We made our way to the head table, stopping to greet guests along the way. Just before we sat down, Mom intercepted us, pulling me into a perfume-heavy embrace. "Darling, about what happened at the ceremony," she started. "You know, your sister just gets excited. She doesn't mean any harm." "Really, Mom?" I pulled back, meeting her eyes. "Name one important moment in my life she hasn't tried to hijack." "That's not fair," Mom protested. "Zariah just has a vibrant personality. She needs attention, unlike you. You've always been so independent." "Independent?" I laughed without humor. "Or just used to being ignored." "Now, Lorelei," Mum's voice took on that familiar disappointed tone. "Don't be dramatic. This kind of jealousy isn't attractive." "Jealousy?" Frankie stepped forward, his usual easygoing demeanor hardening. "Mrs. Walsh, with all due respect—" "It's fine," I cut him off, touching his arm. "Mum, you should get back to your seat. I think Virginia's about to start the toasts." As if on cue, Virginia clinked her glass, calling for attention. "Before we begin dinner, the bride and groom have prepared a special video celebrating their journey together." Zariah's head snapped up, her face darkening. She hadn't expected this deviation from the traditional reception schedule she'd tried to help plan. "But I thought I was doing the first toast," she protested, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "I have a whole speech prepared about love and new beginnings. The video first," Virginia said firmly, nodding to the AV tech. The lights dimmed, and the large screen at the front of the hall flickered to life. It started innocently enough. Photos of Frankie and me throughout our relationship, set to romantic music. Then came the first shift. A screenshot appeared, a text conversation between Zariah and my ex-boyfriend Tom from 3 years ago, where she'd convinced him I was cheating on him. Another screenshot followed, an email where she'd posed as me to cancel a job interview. Then another, her message to Frankie's ex-girlfriend, claiming he was still in love with her, sent just weeks before our engagement. The room grew deadly quiet. I could feel Zariah's eyes boring into me, but I kept my gaze forward, watching as years of her carefully orchestrated sabotage played out on screen. "Turn it off," she demanded, her voice shrill. This is private. Mum, make them stop it." But even Mum sat frozen, watching as the evidence mounted. Messages, emails, social media posts, a systematic campaign to undermine every significant relationship and opportunity in my life. The final clip was from last week. Zariah's voice, crystal clear, telling Darren, "Trust me, babe, announcing our engagement at her wedding is perfect. She'll be too scared of making a scene to do anything about it. She always backs down. It's kind of pathetic, really." When the lights came back up, you could have heard a pin drop. Darren had moved away from Zariah, staring at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "I can explain," Zariah started, but her voice cracked. Lorelai's twisting everything. She's always been jealous of me. Jealous? I stood up slowly, my voice carrying in the silence. No, Zariah, I'm not jealous. I'm done. The room erupted in murmurs as Zariah pushed back her chair with a screech. Her face had gone from red to white, and her hands were shaking. You'll regret this, she hissed, grabbing her purse. You have no idea what else I know. As she stormed toward the exit, I caught Virginia's eye and nodded slightly. Phase 1 was complete. Now for the real fireworks. The silence following Zariah's exit lasted exactly 3 seconds before the room exploded into chaos. Guests turned to each other, phones appeared in hands, and the whispers grew into a steady roar of conversation. Did you know about all this? Darren approached our table, his face ashen. The messages, the manipulation, how long has she been doing this? Sit down, Darren. I gestured to an empty chair. There's more you need to know. More? He collapsed into the seat, loosening his tie. What could be worse than... Remember Jessica? Frankie cut in, his voice gentle but firm. Your ex-fiancée from 2 years ago. Darren's head snapped up. How do you know about Jessica? Virginia appeared beside us, tablet in hand. Show him. I nodded. She pulled up a series of messages between Zariah and Jessica from 18 months ago. Darren's hands shook as he read them, his face growing paler with each swipe. She told Jessica I was cheating. His voice cracked. That's why Jessica called off the wedding. And then Zariah conveniently showed up to comfort you, Rachel added, her tone bitter, just like she did with Tom and Marcus and every other guy she set her sights on. Mom rushed over, her mascara slightly smeared. This is ridiculous. Lorelai, how could you humiliate your sister like this? On your wedding day, no less. How could I? I stood up, finally letting years of suppressed anger surface. How could you let her treat me like this for 28 years? How many times did I come to you in tears, telling you something felt wrong, and you dismissed it as sister rivalry? I never, Mom started, but Dad cut her off. Samantha, his voice was unusually stern, sit down. But Hector, now. As Mom sank into a chair, Virginia projected more evidence onto the screen. Photos of Zariah with various ex-boyfriends, mine and others, all dated suspiciously close to major breakups. Screenshots of her creating fake social media accounts to spread rumors. Email threads where she'd posed as different people to sabotage job opportunities and friendships. Oh my God, Darren stood up suddenly. The promotion I lost last month, she said she had nothing to do with that email to my boss. Check your sent folder, Rachel suggested grimly. She's not as tech-savvy as she thinks. She probably forgot to delete it. Darren fumbled with his phone, then let out a string of curses. I need to... He stumbled toward the exit, already dialing a number. Should we go after him? Frankie asked quietly. I shook my head. He needs time to process, just like everyone else here. Around the room, more revelations were surfacing as guests connected dots from their own experiences with Zariah. Aunt Marie discovered why her catering business lost a major client last year. My cousin Pete finally learned why his girlfriend had suddenly blocked him on all social media platforms. But why? Mom's voice was small now. Why would she do all this? Because she could, I replied. Because you taught her that her feelings mattered more than anyone else's. Because every time she hurt someone, you helped her justify it. That's not... Mom paused as Dad placed a hand on her shoulder. It is true, Sam, he said softly. We failed both our girls. We failed Zariah by never setting boundaries, and we failed Lorelai by never protecting her. The door burst open and Zariah stormed back in, her face streaked with tears and fury. You want to play dirty? Fine. Let me tell everyone about the real Lorelai, about how you slept with Marcus after your breakup. I finished for her. Go ahead. Tell them how you conveniently left out the part where you'd already cheated on him with his best friend. The evidence is all there, Zariah. Every lie, every manipulation, every coincidence. I've spent years documenting it all. You're destroying our family, she screamed. No, I stayed calm, though my heart was racing. You did that, one sabotage at a time. I have more, she threatened, reaching for her phone. Things you don't know about. Actually, Virginia stepped forward, holding up a USB drive. We do know, all of it, including what really happened to Dad's retirement fund last year. Zariah froze, her phone slipping from suddenly nerveless fingers. Dad stood up slowly, his face draining of color. What about my retirement fund? The room held its breath as Zariah's eyes darted between faces, looking for an ally and finding none. For the first time in her life, she had no way to twist the situation to her advantage. She started, then stopped. Her carefully constructed world was crumbling, and everyone could see it. I think, Virginia said quietly, it's time for the full truth to come out, all of it. I nodded, my hand finding Frankie's under the table. The worst was yet to come, but finally, after all these years, the truth would have its day. The retirement fund, Virginia began, connecting her tablet to the projector, was just the beginning. Should we start with the unauthorized withdrawals or the forged signatures? Stop, Zariah whispered, but her usual commanding presence had evaporated. Bank statements appeared on screen. Dad leaned forward, squinting at the numbers. These are from my investment account, but I never authorized. $45,000, Virginia stated. Transferred to a private account over 6 months. The signatures match yours perfectly, except for one small detail. You were in the hospital recovering from knee surgery when 3 of them were made. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Zariah, tell me you didn't. I was going to pay it back. Zariah's voice cracked. I had a plan, this amazing investment opportunity. You mean the crypto scam? Rachel interrupted, pulling up more documents. The same one you tried to drag Lorelei into last Christmas? Dad's face had turned an alarming shade of red. My retirement savings, for cryptocurrency. Not just any cryptocurrency, I added quietly. A pyramid scheme. The same one that bankrupted Uncle Mike last year. Remember how Zariah consoled his daughter at the bankruptcy hearing, telling her everything would be okay while holding the very money that could have saved their house? You don't understand. Zariah's mascara ran in black streaks down her face. I needed the money. Do you know how hard it is to keep up appearances? The right clothes, the right car, the right connections, the right lies. Frankie stood up. Like the lies you told me about Lorelei before we started dating. About her supposedly being engaged to someone else. The room buzzed with fresh whispers. Darren had returned, standing at the back with his phone still in hand, looking shell-shocked. She told me Lorelei was a pathological liar, he said, his voice carrying in the tense silence. That I should be careful believing anything she says about family matters. Projection at its finest, Rachel muttered. I just got off the phone with Jessica, Darren continued. She's sending me proof of all the messages, the fake social media accounts, the anonymous tips about affairs that never happened. It wasn't just Lorelei. You've been doing this to everyone. I had to, Zariah screamed suddenly, making several guests jump. You don't know what it's like being the younger sister, always in her shadow, perfect Lorelei with her perfect grades and perfect job and perfect fiancé. Shadow? I laughed incredulously. You had everything. Mom and Dad's attention, the best clothes, the biggest room. They remortgaged the house to send you to private school while I worked 2 jobs to pay for community college. Because you wanted to, Mom interjected weakly. You said you wanted to be independent. No, Mom. I said that because every time I asked for help, you told me the money had to go to Zariah's special needs. Her modeling classes, her acting workshops, her therapy sessions she never actually attended. Virginia cleared her throat. Speaking of therapy payments, she pulled up another document. Don't, Zariah whispered. The receipts you showed your parents, the ones for weekly sessions at Dr. Marshall's office, they're forgeries. The real Dr. Marshall retired 3 years ago. Dad stood up so quickly his chair toppled backward. 3 years? We've been paying $500 a week for 3 years for therapy you never attended. $78,000, Virginia confirmed, plus the retirement fund, plus the credit cards opened in your name. Credit cards? Mom's voice was barely audible. More documents appeared on screen. Credit card statements, loan applications, payment records, all bearing Dad's forged signature. Total unauthorized debt. Virginia paused for effect. Just over $200,000. The room erupted. Mom slumped in her chair. Dad's face went from red to purple, and Darren stormed out again, this time slamming the door behind him. I can explain, Zariah began, but for once, no one was listening to her performance. The police, Dad said quietly, his voice shaking. We need to call the police. Daddy, no! Zariah rushed forward, reaching for him, but he stepped back. Don't touch me, he said. Don't even look at me right now. Mom? Zariah turned desperately, but Mom was staring straight ahead, tears streaming down her face. All those times you needed emergency money, Mom whispered. All those investments you said would make us rich. All those stories about helping friends in need. I'm your daughter, Zariah pleaded. Yes, Mom finally met her eyes. And that's why this hurts so much more. Virginia already had her phone out, speaking quietly to someone on the other end. Zariah's eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal, finally landing on me. This is your fault, she hissed. You've ruined everything. No, I said firmly, standing to face my sister one last time. You did that all on your own. I just finally stopped covering for you. The sound of sirens in the distance grew steadily louder. The police arrived with minimal drama. 2 officers quietly escorted Zariah out, while a detective took statements from my parents. Most guests had already left, leaving behind half-eaten meals and whispered promises to call later. Some wedding, huh? Frankie pulled me close as we watched Mom sobbing into Dad's shoulder. I don't think this is what they mean by memorable. I'm so sorry. I turned to face him. This wasn't how our day was supposed to go. Hey, he lifted my chin with his finger. Remember what you said in your vows about facing challenges together? Still, I sighed, most couples don't spend their wedding night giving statements to the police about financial fraud. Rachel appeared with 3 glasses of champagne. Well, most couples don't have Zariah for a sister. Here, you both look like you need this. As we sipped our champagne, Virginia approached with her tablet. The detective wants to know if you'll testify about the relationship sabotage. It establishes a pattern of manipulation that strengthens the fraud case. Of course, I started, but was interrupted by a commotion at the entrance. Is she still here? A man's voice called out. I need to speak to Zariah. Joey? Rachel squinted at the newcomer. Joey Stevenson? My heart dropped. Joey, Zariah's ex-fiancé from 2 years ago, the one who'd disappeared right before their wedding. He looked different now, thinner, more haunted, but definitely him. She's been arrested, Frankie told him. The police just took her. Arrested? Joey ran a hand through his disheveled hair. Good. That's good, because I have something you all need to see. He pulled out a laptop from his messenger bag, hands shaking as he opened it. I've spent the last 2 years tracking her activities. After what she did to me, I couldn't let it go. What did she do? I asked softly. Besides empty my bank accounts and try to frame me for embezzlement at work. He laughed bitterly. She nearly destroyed my life, but that's not even the worst part. Virginia pulled up a chair for him. Show us. Joey's fingers flew over the keyboard. See, after I lost everything, I started investigating. Found others she'd done this to. Created a whole network of her victims. And then I discovered this. He turned the screen toward us. Documents filled the display. Business records, bank statements, social media posts, carefully archived and annotated. She's been running this same con for years, he explained. Find someone successful, manipulate them into a relationship, gain access to their accounts, then destroy their reputation when she's done. But she got sloppy with me, left traces. How many others? Dad's voice made us all jump. He and Mom had approached quietly, their faces drawn with exhaustion. At least 12 that I've confirmed. Joey replied. Probably more. She had a system. Target people with money but few close connections. Love bomb them, isolate them, then strike. The relationship sabotage? That was just practice. A way to perfect her manipulation techniques. Mom sank into a chair. Our little girl, a con artist, a very good one, Joey nodded grimly. She learned early that crying got her out of trouble, that playing victim made people trust her. She weaponized sympathy. The therapy payments, Virginia realized, they weren't just theft, they were cover. Who would suspect someone supposedly getting mental health treatment? Exactly. Joey pulled up more files. And look at the timing of her emergencies. Always when someone was close to discovering the truth. Always with a ready explanation that made the questioner feel guilty for doubting her. I felt Frankie's arm tighten around me as realization dawned. The engagement announcement today wasn't just attention-seeking, Rachel finished. She needed a new mark. Darren has family money, doesn't he? Old money, I confirmed, and a trust fund he gets access to next month. Which she would have drained within weeks, Joey said, just like she did to me, just like she did to all the others. The detective approached our group. Mr. Stevenson, we'd like to take your statement now. This evidence could help build a stronger case. As Joey packed up his laptop, he turned to my parents. I'm sorry, I know this hurts, but she needs to be stopped before she ruins more lives. Dad nodded slowly, looking every bit his age. Thank you for coming forward. After Joey left with the detective, an uncomfortable silence fell over the room. The remaining guests had gathered their things, leaving just family and close friends. What happens now? Mom asked, her voice small. Now, I said, taking Frankie's hand, we clean up this mess. Together, as a family. And Zariah? Rachel asked. I looked at the empty doorway where my sister had been led away in handcuffs. She faces the consequences of her actions. Finally. Some wedding present. Frankie attempted a weak joke. Actually, I managed a small smile. It kind of is. The truth, that's the best gift we could have received today. The room fell quiet again, but this time the silence felt different. Like the calm after a storm, when the air is clear and you can finally see the damage and begin to rebuild. 3 days after my wedding, I found myself sitting in a sterile police station interview room, facing my sister across a metal table. She looked smaller somehow, without her designer clothes and perfect makeup. 5 minutes, the officer reminded us before stepping outside. You look terrible, Zariah said, picking at her orange jumpsuit. Shouldn't you be on your honeymoon? Frankie and I postponed it. Someone had to help Mom and Dad sort through the financial mess you left them with. She flinched. They're still mad. Mad? I leaned forward. Dad had to remortgage the house. Again. Mom can barely get out of bed. Is that what you wanted? I wanted... She trailed off, then straightened. You didn't have to expose everything at your wedding. You could have talked to me privately. Like you talked to me privately about sabotaging my relationships, or stealing Dad's retirement, or conning Joey out of his life savings. Joey, she spat the name. He's the one who turned me in, isn't he? Pathetic little man, couldn't handle a strong woman. Stop it, I cut her off. Just stop. The act doesn't work anymore. Joey showed us everything. The other victims are coming forward. It's over, Zariah. For a moment, her mask slipped. Real fear flashed across her face before she covered it with a sneer. So what now? You get to be the perfect daughter while I rot in jail. Is that your happy ending? This isn't about being perfect. It's about consequences. The DA says you're looking at 15 to 20 years. 20 years? Her voice cracked. But I'm your sister. Yes, you are. Which is why I'm here with an offer. She leaned forward eagerly. You'll help me? The DA is willing to consider a lighter sentence if you cooperate. Return the money, provide details about all your cons, testify against your accomplices. Accomplices? She sat back, eyes narrowing. I worked alone. Really? So that offshore account in the Caymans just appeared by magic. The fake IDs were self-generating. Come on, Zariah, we both know you had help. She stayed silent, but I saw the calculation in her eyes. Think about it, I continued. 7 to 10 years with good behavior versus 20. Your choice. And what do you get out of this? She demanded. The satisfaction of seeing me confess? What I get is closure. For our family, for Joey, for everyone you hurt. And maybe, just maybe, a sister who finally takes responsibility for her actions. You always were self-righteous, she sneered, but there was a tremor in her voice. No, I was just waiting for you to face reality. Remember when we were kids? Before the lying started, we used to be friends. Before you became Little Miss Perfect, you mean? Before you decided that taking what you wanted was easier than earning it, I corrected. Before you started seeing everyone as either a mark or a rival. She looked away, blinking rapidly. I can't go to prison for 20 years. Then tell the truth, all of it, starting with who helped you set up those offshore accounts. The officer knocked on the door. Time's up. Zariah grabbed my arm as I stood. Wait, I need time to think. You have until tomorrow morning. The DA won't wait longer than that. Lorelei, her voice was small, almost childlike. Will you come back if I decide to talk? I studied her face, searching for signs of manipulation. For once, I saw none. Yes, but only if you're ready to tell the whole truth. As I turned to leave, she called out again. I'm sorry about your wedding. I know you probably don't believe me, but I am. I paused at the door. You're right. I don't believe you. Not yet. But maybe someday I will. Outside, Frankie was waiting with Rachel and Joey. How did it go? She'll talk, I said. She's scared enough now to tell the truth. The whole truth? Joey asked skeptically. We'll see. But for the first time in her life, she's facing real consequences. That's a start. Rachel hugged me tightly. You okay? No, I admitted. But I will be. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Dad's meeting with the bankruptcy lawyer. Please come home. Go, Frankie said, reading over my shoulder. I'll handle things here with Joey and the DA. I kissed him quickly. What did I do to deserve you? You spilled coffee on my laptop, he smiled. Best day of my life. As I drove home, I thought about Zariah sitting in that cold interview room, finally facing the wreckage of her choices. Part of me felt guilty for exposing her, for choosing truth over family loyalty. But then I remembered Dad's face when he learned about his retirement fund, Mom's tears as she discovered decades of lies, Joey's destroyed life, and all the others Zariah had hurt. Sometimes love means letting someone face the consequences of their actions. Sometimes it's the only way they can change. Tomorrow would bring more revelations, more pain, more truth. But for now, I had a family to help rebuild. The courtroom fell silent as Zariah finished her testimony. She'd named names, provided account details, and exposed every aspect of her cons. For 3 hours, she'd laid bare a network of fraud that stretched across multiple states. And you understand, the judge leaned forward, that this testimony will be used in additional prosecutions. Yes, Your Honor. Zariah's voice was barely audible. Very well. Based on your cooperation and the DA's recommendation, I sentence you to 8 years in state prison with possibility of parole after 5 years. Additionally, you will pay full restitution to all victims. Mom squeezed my hand as Zariah was led away. She turned once, catching my eye, and gave a small nod. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us with questions. Dad stepped forward, his voice steady. Our daughter made terrible choices. She hurt people, including her family. Now she's taking responsibility for those actions. That's all we have to say. Back at the house, Virginia and Rachel had organized a small gathering. Not a celebration exactly, but a moment to breathe. Joey was there, looking more at peace than I'd seen him since the wedding. The FBI caught Marcus this morning, he announced, showing us his phone. He was trying to flee to Mexico with what was left of the money. Marcus? Mom looked confused. Zariah's partner, I explained. The one who helped her set up the fake accounts. Turns out he was running similar cons in 3 other states. At least some good came from all this, Frankie said, wrapping an arm around me. A lot of people will get justice now. Dad cleared his throat. Speaking of justice, he pulled out an envelope. This came today, from Zariah. Inside was a handwritten letter and a stack of documents. Mom's hand shook as she read aloud. Dear Mom and Dad, I know sorry isn't enough, but I am sorry. Not just for the money, but for everything. I've signed over my condo and car to help with restitution. The bank accounts are next. It won't fix what I broke, but maybe it's a start. Love, Zariah. She actually signed the transfer papers, Dad said quietly. No games, no conditions. It's something, I acknowledged. A small step, but real. Rachel raised her glass. To small steps then, and to finally having the whole truth out in the open. To truth, everyone echoed. As conversations flowed around me, I slipped outside to the back porch. The same porch where, as teenagers, Zariah and I used to share secrets and dreams. Before competition turned to sabotage, before attention-seeking became destruction. Frankie found me there, 2 cups of coffee in hand. Penny for your thoughts? I was just thinking about choices. I took a cup. How each little decision leads to bigger ones. Until suddenly you're so far down a path you can't see the way back. But there's always a way back, he said. Zariah found it today. Your parents are finding it, rebuilding their trust in each other. Even Joey's finding peace. And us? I turned to face him. Are we okay? This wasn't exactly the romantic wedding story most couples get to tell. He laughed. Are you kidding? We got through family drama, financial fraud, and a criminal investigation in our first week of marriage. I'd say we're better than okay. From inside, we heard Mom laugh, a real laugh, the first in weeks. Through the window, I could see her showing Virginia old family photos, while Dad and Joey discussed plans for a support group for fraud victims. You know what the strangest part is? I said. I actually feel lighter, like all those years of covering for Zariah, making excuses, pretending everything was fine. That was the real burden. The truth usually is lighter, Frankie agreed, even when it hurts at first. My phone buzzed, a text from the prison social worker. Zariah would like to start family counseling when you're ready. I showed Frankie the message. What do you think? I think, he said carefully, that healing takes time, and work, and willingness to change. But if she's really ready, then maybe we all are, I finished. We stood there in comfortable silence, watching the sun set on what felt like the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Not a fairy tale ending, those don't exist in real life, but something better, a true ending, hard-won and honest. Ready to go back in? Frankie asked. I took his hand, feeling the new weight of my wedding ring. Ready. Because that's what life is, really. Not perfect moments or dramatic revelations, but small choices. The choice to face truth, to allow consequences, to offer chances for redemption. The choice to love anyway, even when it's complicated. Especially when it's complicated.
The sound of forks scraping against plates filled the heavy silence of our family dinner. 2 weeks after Luke's funeral, and already I could feel the vultures circling. I caught Thea's sideways glance as she leaned closer to Jameson, whispering something that made him nod with practiced sympathy. My name is Genesis, and I never thought I'd be sitting at my own dining table feeling like an outsider. Luke and I hosted these family dinners for 30 years, but tonight everything felt different. The familiar scent of my pot roast couldn't mask the stench of ulterior motives. Genesis, dear, Thea's voice cut through my thoughts, saccharine sweet. Have you given any thought to what we discussed last week, about downsizing? I set down my fork, meeting her gaze. No, Thea, this is my home. We're just concerned. Jameson chimed in, dabbing his mouth with a napkin. Living alone in such a big house at your age? I'm 55, not 85. I replied, forcing a smile. And I'm not alone. Athena helps me maintain the place. Athena, my caretaker, looked up from her plate, offering a supportive smile. She was young, but her presence had become a comfort since Luke's passing. About that, Thea continued, sharing another meaningful look with Jameson. We've been thinking it might be more practical to consider one of those lovely retirement communities. The one near us has excellent facilities. My stepson Ira shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His girlfriend Olive squeezed his hand under the table, a gesture I wasn't meant to see. Luke wanted me to stay here, I said firmly. This was our dream home. Luke would want what's best for you, Thea pressed, her voice dripping with false concern. And managing such a large property alone, it's not practical. I'm managing just fine, I insisted, standing to clear the plates. Athena moved to help, but I waved her off. I needed a moment alone in the kitchen. As I loaded the dishwasher, voices drifted in from the dining room. I moved closer to the door, my heart pounding as I caught fragments of their conversation. Needs to be handled delicately, Thea was saying. We can't just... The sooner the better, Jameson replied in a low voice, before she gets too settled in the idea of staying. Dad wouldn't have wanted this, Ira's voice, barely above a whisper. Your father wasn't thinking clearly near the end, Thea snapped. We're doing what's best for everyone. I gripped the counter, my knuckles turning white. Luke had been perfectly clear-minded when he made me promise to keep our home, to never let anyone pressure me into leaving. This is your sanctuary, he'd said, holding my hand during those final days. Don't let anyone take it from you. Bethany, my best friend, had warned me about this. Watch your back, she'd said at the funeral. Family can turn faster than milk in summer heat. I returned to the dining room with coffee and the apple pie Luke always loved. Conversation stopped abruptly, replaced by overly bright smiles. Genesis, Kayla, my niece, spoke up for the first time that evening. Would you like me to come by tomorrow? Help you sort through some of Uncle Luke's things? Before I could answer, Thea interrupted. Oh, we can help with that. No need to trouble yourself, Kayla. I'd love your help, Kayla, I said pointedly. Come by around 10? The rest of the evening passed in a blur of meaningful glances and veiled suggestions. As everyone prepared to leave, Thea hung back, placing a hand on my arm. We're family, Genesis. We only want what's best for you. I looked into her eyes, seeing the calculation behind the concern. I know exactly what you want, Thea. She stiffened slightly before recovering her smile. Get some rest, dear. We'll talk more soon. After they left, I sat in Luke's favorite armchair, running my fingers over the worn fabric. The house felt different now, filled with shadows of whispered conspiracies and hidden agendas. Athena appeared with a cup of tea. Ms. Genesis, are you all right? They're planning something, Athena. They want my home. She hesitated before speaking. I've noticed things. Papers on Mr. Jameson's desk when I served him coffee last week. Something about property values. I took the tea, my hand steady despite the anger building inside me. Luke knew this might happen. That's why he made sure everything was in my name. But looking at the family photos on the wall, I wondered if his siblings knew that. And more importantly, I wondered what they were willing to do to get what they wanted. They think I'm just a grieving widow they can push around, I murmured, more to myself than Athena. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The morning after that tense dinner, I was sorting through Luke's old files when Kayla arrived. Her presence brought a warmth to the house that had been missing since the funeral. Found anything interesting? She asked, settling beside me on the floor of Luke's study. Just memories, I said, holding up an old photograph of Luke and me at our wedding. And some concerning documents. What kind of documents? I pulled out a folder I'd discovered earlier. Medical evaluations. Recent ones. But I never had these tests done. Kayla's eyes widened as she scanned the papers. These are dated last month. It says you're showing signs of cognitive decline? Exactly. And look who ordered them. I pointed to the referring physician's name. Dr. Harrison? Isn't that Aunt Thea's golf buddy? Before I could respond, We heard footsteps in the hallway. Athena appeared in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. Ms. Genesis? Mr. Jameson is here. He says he needs to discuss some urgent family business. I quickly slid the folder under some others. Send him in. Jameson entered, his usual confident stride betraying a hint of nervousness. Genesis, I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Just catching up with Kayla, I said, gesturing to the scattered papers. Going through Luke's things. His eyes darted around the study. Actually, that's partly why I'm here. There are some documents we need to locate. Insurance papers, property deeds, that sort of thing. Everything's in order, I assured him. Luke was very thorough. Yes, well, he cleared his throat. Thea and I would feel better if we could review them. Make sure everything's properly arranged. Kayla stood up, crossing her arms. Why wouldn't it be properly arranged, Uncle Jameson? He shot her a sharp look. Family looking out for family, that's all. Genesis has been through so much. I appreciate the concern, I said, standing as well, but I'm handling it. Just then, Athena appeared again. Ms. Genesis, there's someone at the door. Says they're here about the property assessment? Jameson's face reddened. I'll handle that, he said quickly, heading for the door. No, I called after him. I'll handle it. This is my house after all. In the foyer, a woman in a business suit was waiting. Mrs. Stout, I'm Rachel from Cornerstone Realty. I'm here about the property evaluation requested by my sister-in-law, I finished, watching Jameson squirm. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. This house isn't for sale. Oh. She looked confused, checking her tablet. I have paperwork here indicating, whatever you have is unauthorized, I said firmly. I own this property, and I haven't requested any evaluations. After the realtor left, Jameson tried to explain. We just wanted to know the current market value, for tax purposes. Get out, I said quietly, and tell Thea to stop whatever game she's playing. Once he was gone, Kayla hugged me. You know what they're trying to do, right? They think the house is still in Luke's name, I said. They don't know he transferred everything to me before he died. Ms. Genesis? Athena's voice was hesitant. There's something you should know. Last week, while cleaning Mr. Jameson's study during the family lunch, I found some papers. One was labeled Petition for Guardianship. My blood ran cold. They're trying to declare me incompetent. I took pictures with my phone, Athena admitted. I knew something wasn't right. Kayla grabbed my hand. We need to call Bethany. She's a lawyer. She'll know what to do. I nodded, but my mind was already racing ahead. The medical evaluations, the property assessment, the guardianship petition. They were building a case to take everything from me. There's more, Athena said. I overheard Ms. Thea on the phone yesterday. She mentioned something about an emergency family meeting next week. Said it was time to handle the situation. I walked to Luke's desk and opened the bottom drawer, pulling out a sealed envelope he'd given me months ago. Time to handle it indeed. What's that? Kayla asked. Insurance, I replied, breaking the seal. Luke knew his siblings better than they thought. He left me everything I need to fight back. Inside were documents, photos, and a USB drive. Evidence of past schemes, failed business dealings, and family secrets Thea and Jameson would rather keep buried. They want to play dirty? I said, spreading the contents on the desk. Let's show them how it's done. Kayla and Athena exchanged looks, and I saw something new in their eyes. Not pity for the grieving widow, but respect for a woman ready to fight back. First, I said, reaching for my phone, let's call Bethany. Then we're going to plan our own little family meeting. Bethany's office smelled of coffee and determination. She spread the documents across her desk, her lawyer's eyes scanning every detail while I sat across from her, gripping my cup of coffee so tight I thought it might shatter. This is serious, Genesis, she said, holding up the guardianship petition. They're not just trying to take your house. They're trying to take your autonomy. Can they do it? Kayla asked from the chair beside me. Bethany shook her head. Not with what Luke left you. But we need to be smart about this. They're building a paper trail to make you look incompetent. Show her the USB drive, Kayla urged. I pulled out the small device Luke had left behind. Bethany plugged it into her computer, and her eyes widened as she scrolled through the files. Well, well, she murmured. Looks like Thea and Jameson have been busy. Failed real estate schemes, questionable investments, tax discrepancies. Luke kept everything, I explained. He said it might come in handy someday. A knock at the door made us all jump. Bethany's assistant poked her head in. Ms. Genesis, your stepson Ira is here, says it's urgent. I exchanged looks with Kayla before nodding. Send him in. Ira entered, looking uncomfortable in his business suit. His girlfriend Olive followed, her hand protectively on his arm. Genesis, we need to talk, he said, running a hand through his hair. Aunt Thea called a family meeting for tomorrow night. They're going to try to force me into assisted living, I finished. Declare me incompetent? He blinked. How did you? Your father warned me this might happen, I said softly. He knew his siblings better than they knew themselves. Olive stepped forward. Ira's been struggling with this. He knows what they're doing is wrong. They said it was for your own good, Ira blurted out. That you're not coping well, that the house is too much. But I've seen the documents they're using. The medical evaluations are fake. Bethany leaned forward. Would you be willing to testify to that? Ira looked at Olive, who nodded encouragingly. Yes. Dad would never forgive me if I let them do this to you. My phone buzzed. A text from Athena. Ms. Thea just showed up at the house with some men. They're going through papers in the study. They're searching my house. I stood up, anger replacing fear. Like common thieves? They're looking for the deed, Ira explained. They don't know Dad transferred everything to you. Genesis. Bethany's voice was sharp. Don't confront them, not yet. Let them think they're winning. The family meeting tomorrow, Kayla said suddenly. That's when they're planning to spring everything on you. The medical reports, the guardianship petition. Then that's when we'll spring our trap, I replied. Bethany, can you have everything ready by then? She nodded, already reaching for her phone. I'll have the injunction prepared, along with documentation of their fraudulent activities. But Genesis, are you sure you want to go nuclear? They're still family. Family doesn't try to steal your home and freedom, I said firmly. Luke protected me from them one last time by leaving me these documents. I'm going to use them. Ira shifted uncomfortably. Aunt Thea's been calling all the relatives, telling them you're not mentally stable. Some believer. Let them, I said. Tomorrow night, everyone will know the truth. We spent the next hour planning. Bethany prepared legal documents, while Kayla coordinated with Athena to document everything happening at the house. Ira provided details about Thea and Jameson's plans, his loyalty to his father's wishes finally outweighing family pressure. As we were leaving, Olive pulled me aside. Genesis, there's something else you should know. Thea's been promising pieces of your house to different family members. The antique furniture to Cousin Sarah, the art collection to Uncle Robert. Dividing up my possessions before they've even taken them, I said bitterly. How thoughtful of her. Back at home, I found Athena waiting anxiously. The study was a mess, drawers left open, papers scattered. They left when they couldn't find what they were looking for, she reported. Ms. Thea seemed angry. I picked up a framed photo of Luke that they'd knocked over. Tomorrow night, they'll be more than angry. They'll be exposed. Ms. Genesis? Athena hesitated. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know I'm on your side. What they're doing. It's not right. I squeezed her hand, grateful for another ally in this fight. As night fell, I sat in Luke's chair, looking at the home we'd built together. Tomorrow, his siblings would try to take it all away. But Luke had given me everything I needed to fight back. They think I'm a helpless widow, I whispered to his photo. Time to show them how wrong they are. The day before the family meeting, I decided to do some investigating of my own. Thea's real estate office was quiet when I walked in, claiming I needed to discuss a property listing. The receptionist, recognizing me as family, waved me straight through. Genesis! Thea's surprise was poorly masked by her fake smile. What brings you here? Just wanted to talk, I said, settling into a chair across from her desk. About the house. Her eyes lit up like a shark spotting blood in the water. Oh, have you been considering our suggestions? Actually, I've been thinking about what Luke would want. I watched her carefully. He always said family should stick together. Exactly! Thea leaned forward eagerly. That's what we've been saying, and the retirement community near us. A knock interrupted her. Jameson burst in, freezing when he saw me. Genesis, I didn't expect. Join us, I said pleasantly. We're discussing family matters. He shared a look with Thea before sitting down. I noticed him trying to subtly close his laptop, but not before I glimpsed an email with my name in the subject line. I found some interesting papers in Luke's study, I mentioned casually. Medical evaluations I don't remember having. Memory issues are exactly what we're concerned about, Thea said smoothly. These things can creep up slowly. Funny thing about memories, I replied. I clearly remember Dr. Harrison playing golf with you last month, Thea. The same doctor who supposedly evaluated me. The siblings exchanged another glance. Jameson cleared his throat. Genesis, we're only trying to help. Like you helped Luke with the Riverside Development Project? They both stiffened. That project had been their biggest failure and their darkest secret. I don't know what you're talking about, Thea said sharply. My phone buzzed. A text from Kayla. Found more documents in Jameson's car, photos attached. I should go, I stood up. But I'll see you both tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to our family discussion. Genesis, Thea called as I reached the door. Be careful. Sometimes people who dig too deep get buried in what they find. I turned back, meeting her gaze. Is that a threat, Thea? A friendly warning, from family. Outside, I called Bethany immediately. They're getting nervous. Thea just threatened me. Perfect, Bethany replied. Did you plant the bug? I smiled, remembering the tiny recording device I'd dropped behind Thea's desk. It's done. Let's see what they say when they think I'm gone. Back home, Athena was waiting with news. Ms. Genesis, while you were out, Mr. Jameson's assistant came by. She was supposed to deliver some papers, but she gave them to me by mistake. She handed me a thick envelope. Inside were more fraudulent medical reports and a draft of the guardianship petition, complete with forged signatures from family members. They're getting sloppy, I muttered, making mistakes. My phone rang. It was Ira. Genesis, you need to hear this. I just overheard Aunt Thea on the phone with her lawyer. They're planning to have you committed if you resist tomorrow night. Committed? My hand tightened on the phone. They can't do that. They've got a doctor on standby. They're saying it's for a psychiatric evaluation, but really, it's to get me out of the way while they take everything, I finished. Thank you, Ira. Are you still with us for tomorrow? All the way, he promised. Olive and I both. Later that evening, Kayla came over with the recording from the bug. We sat in the kitchen, listening to Thea and Jameson's conversation after I'd left. She knows something, Thea's voice crackled through the speaker. About Riverside. Impossible, Jameson replied. Those records were destroyed. Luke must have kept copies. We need to move faster, once we get control of the house. And Genesis? The doctor will handle that. A few weeks in observation, and no judge will question the guardianship petition. I stopped the recording, my hands shaking with anger. They were going to have me locked up. Not anymore, Kayla said firmly. We've got them, Genesis. All of it. The fake medical reports, the forged signatures, the Riverside evidence. Tomorrow night, it all comes out. Athena brought us tea, her young face serious. Ms. Genesis, whatever happens tomorrow, you're not alone. I looked around my kitchen, at Kayla's determined expression, at Athena's loyal support, at the house Luke and I had filled with love for 30 years. Tomorrow, his siblings would try to take it all away. But they'd forgotten something crucial. A woman protecting her home is more dangerous than any predator. No, I agreed. I'm not alone. And after tomorrow night, Thea and Jameson will wish they'd remembered that. The morning of the family meeting, Athena rushed into my bedroom, her face pale. "Ms. Genesis, you need to see this." She handed me her phone, showing a group text from Thea to the extended family. Deeply concerned about Genesis's mental state. She's becoming paranoid, making accusations. Please come early to discuss intervention options. "They're trying to stack the deck," I said, getting dressed quickly. "How many responses?" "Most of the family is arriving 2 hours early. Only Kayla, Ira, and Olive declined." My phone rang. It was Bethany. "Genesis, we have a problem. Thea's filed an emergency petition for temporary guardianship. They're trying to fast-track it before tonight's meeting. Can they do that?" "Not if we move first. I'm heading to the courthouse now. Don't let anyone in the house until I call back." Barely an hour later, someone knocked on my front door. Through the security camera, I saw Thea standing there with a man in a suit. "Genesis?" she called out. "This is Dr. Peters. We're worried about you, dear. Please let us in." I pressed the intercom. "Not without my lawyer present." "See?" Thea's voice dripped with concern. "This paranoid behavior is exactly what we're worried about. Doctor, please note her refusal to cooperate." "I'm noting your harassment," I replied, "and the security cameras are noting it too." They left after 15 minutes of trying, but I knew they'd be back. I called Kayla. "They're at the courthouse," she reported. "Bethany's handling it. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine, but—" I stopped as Athena rushed in again. "Ms. Genesis, Ms. Thea's assistant just called. She wants to help us." "Put her on speaker," I told Athena, with Kayla still listening on my phone. "Hello?" A nervous voice came through. "I'm Sandra, Ms. Thea's assistant. I've been gathering evidence for months. The forged documents, the fake medical reports. I have copies of everything." "Why help us now?" I asked. "Because they're planning to blame me if things go wrong. I heard them this morning. I'm supposed to be their scapegoat." "Sandra," I said carefully, "would you be willing to testify to this?" "Yes. I'm tired of their schemes. I'll bring everything to your house now." An hour later, Sandra arrived with a thick folder. The evidence was damning. Emails discussing the fake medical reports, drafts of the forged documents, even recordings of Thea and Jameson planning the whole thing. My phone rang again. Bethany this time. "We won at the courthouse. The judge threw out their emergency petition and issued a restraining order. They can't come within 100 feet of you until after a formal hearing." "Perfect timing," I said. "We just got a treasure trove of evidence from Thea's assistant." "Even better. I'm on my way over. We need to prepare for tonight." The afternoon passed in a flurry of activity. Bethany and Kayla helped me organize the evidence, while Athena and Sandra prepared the dining room for the meeting. Ira and Olive arrived early, bringing more allies, cousins who'd refused to believe Thea's lies. "Aunt Thea's furious about the restraining order," Ira reported. "She's telling everyone it proves you're using legal tricks to hide your mental state." "Let her dig her hole deeper," Bethany said, sorting papers. "Every accusation she makes will look worse when the truth comes out." At 6 o'clock, my security system alerted me to cars pulling up. Through the cameras, I watched family members arriving in groups, their faces concerned and confused. Thea and Jameson stood at the legal distance, directing people toward the house. "Ready?" Kayla squeezed my hand. I looked around at my support team. Bethany with her legal documents, Athena and Sandra with their evidence, Ira and Olive with their loyalty, and Kayla with her unwavering support. "More than ready," I replied. "Let's show them what happens when you try to steal a widow's home." The doorbell rang. Through the camera, I saw Uncle Robert, Aunt Marie, and various cousins huddled on my porch, looking uncertain. "Ms. Genesis?" Athena's voice was strong and clear. "It's time." I straightened my shoulders and headed for the door. Behind me, Bethany arranged the evidence on the dining room table. Through the window, I could see Thea and Jameson watching from their legally mandated distance, probably thinking they had the upper hand. "They have no idea what's coming," Kayla whispered. "No," I agreed, reaching for the door handle. "But they're about to find out." I opened the door to face my family, ready to expose the truth and fight for everything Luke and I had built together. The real show was about to begin, and I had front-row seats to my in-laws' downfall. The family filed into my dining room, their whispers echoing off the walls. Uncle Robert immediately took charge, his voice carrying that same condescending tone Thea had perfected. "Genesis, we're here because we're concerned," he began, standing at the head of my table like he owned it. "Thea and Jameson have shared some disturbing information." "About my mental state?" I interrupted, remaining seated. "Or about my supposed inability to manage my own home?" "Now, dear," Aunt Marie chimed in, "there's no need to be defensive. We're here to help." Bethany cleared her throat. "As Genesis's attorney, I should inform everyone that this meeting is being recorded." "Attorney?" Uncle Robert's eyebrows shot up. "This is a family matter?" "It became a legal matter," I said, "when Thea and Jameson tried to file an emergency guardianship petition this morning." Murmurs rippled through the room. Cousin Sarah spoke up. "They said you were becoming unstable, making wild accusations. Like these?" I nodded to Athena, who started distributing copies of the forged medical reports. "Or perhaps you'd like to see these?" Sandra began passing out emails showing Thea and Jameson's plans. "What is this?" Uncle Robert demanded, scanning the documents. "Evidence," Bethany stated flatly, "of conspiracy, fraud, and attempted elder abuse." The room erupted in confused chatter. Through the window, I could see Thea and Jameson pacing at their court-mandated distance. "That's not possible," Aunt Marie protested. "Thea showed us evaluations from Dr. Harrison." "Who happens to be her golf partner?" Kayla cut in. "And who, when contacted by our investigator, confirmed he never examined Genesis." Ira stood up. "It's true. I've seen them fabricating these documents. They planned to have Genesis committed so they could seize control of the house. The house that, by the way," Bethany added, "is legally mine." I pulled out Luke's final property deed. Transferred to me 6 months before his death, with all the proper documentation. Uncle Robert grabbed the deed, his face reddening. "This can't be right. Luke would never—" "Luke knew exactly what his siblings were capable of," I said quietly. "Just like he knew about the Riverside development scandal." The room went deadly silent. Even Uncle Robert paled. "How did you—" he started. "Luke kept records," I continued, "of everything. The investors they defrauded, the environmental regulations they violated, the money they embezzled." Sandra stepped forward, her voice shaking. "I have copies of all the transactions. They plan to use the profits from selling this house to pay back their debts." Cousin Sarah stood up abruptly. "Is this true? They promised me the antique furniture if I supported the guardianship petition. They promised me the art collection," another cousin admitted. "They were dividing up my home before they even had it," I said, "using all of you as pawns in their game." Bethany laid out more documents. "We have evidence of at least 6 different attempts to forge Genesis's signature, 3 fabricated medical evaluations, and dozens of emails discussing their plans to have her forcibly committed." The family's shock turned to anger. Not at me, but at Thea and Jameson. Through the window, I could see them realizing something was wrong, as relatives began shooting them furious looks. "There's more," Ira added. "They've been using family investments to cover their debts for years. Check your accounts, especially the trust funds they manage." Phones came out immediately. The room filled with gasps and cursing as people discovered the truth. "I trusted them with my children's college fund," Aunt Marie whispered. Uncle Robert was already dialing his bank. Others were texting Thea and Jameson, demanding explanations. "Genesis?" Cousin Sarah approached me, tears in her eyes. "We had no idea. They told us you were sick, that you needed help." "They counted on family loyalty to blind you," I said gently. "Just like they counted on me being too grief-stricken to fight back." Bethany stood up. "I've prepared criminal complaints and civil suits. Anyone who's lost money to their schemes can join the legal action." A line formed at Bethany's end of the table as relatives rushed to add their names to the complaints. Through the window, I watched Thea and Jameson finally realize their game was up. They hurried to their car as family members began storming out to confront them. "Should we stop them?" Kayla asked, watching them speed away. "No need," Bethany smiled. The police are waiting at their homes with search warrants. This isn't just about saving your house anymore, Genesis. This is about justice for everyone they've hurt. I looked around my dining room, at the family members hugging and apologizing, at my team of supporters standing proud, at the home Luke had protected for me one last time. Justice, I agreed, and truth. It's all I ever wanted. The next morning's headlines screamed, "Local real estate moguls arrested in fraud scheme." My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn, with calls from family members and reporters. "Turn on the news!" Kayla burst through my front door, still in her pajamas. "They're doing the perp walk!" Sure enough, there were Thea and Jameson, being led out of their homes in handcuffs. Their perfectly manicured appearances had crumbled, Thea's hair disheveled, Jameson's expensive suit wrinkled. "Genesis!" Bethany's voice came through my speakerphone. "The DA wants to meet with you today. They've found evidence of even more crimes during the searches." "How much money did they steal?" I asked. "Initial estimates are over $2 million from family members alone. The Riverside development fraud could triple that number." Athena brought in coffee as we watched the coverage. The reporter was interviewing Uncle Robert outside the police station. "We trusted them," he said on screen, his face red with anger. "They nearly convinced us to help them destroy an innocent woman's life to cover their crimes." The doorbell rang. Ira and Olive stood there with Sandra, all looking exhausted but relieved. "The police interviewed me all night," Sandra said, collapsing onto my couch. "I gave them everything, every email, every forged document, every recording." "You were brave to come forward," I told her. "I should have done it sooner. The things they were planning," she shuddered. "They wanted to have you committed for months while they liquidated everything you own." My phone rang again. Aunt Marie this time. "Genesis, I'm so sorry. We should have seen through their lies. They took advantage of our grief over Luke." "They took advantage of everyone," I assured her. "But it's over now." The morning passed in a blur of police statements and family visits. Around noon, Bethany arrived with more news. "The DA is offering them a deal," she announced, "but they have to make full restitution to everyone they defrauded." "They'll have to sell everything," Ira said. "Their houses, cars, investments." "Good," Kayla declared. "Let them know how it feels to lose their homes." The television showed Thea and Jameson's booking photos, while a reporter detailed their schemes. Sources say the siblings targeted their own family members, using their positions of trust to embezzle millions. Their sister-in-law's resistance to their final scheme led to their downfall. "Ms. Genesis?" Athena called from the kitchen. "More family members are here." Cousin Sarah led a group into my living room, carrying boxes and bags. "We're returning everything we took yesterday," she explained. "The things Thea told us to secure during the meeting." I hadn't even noticed items missing in the chaos. They unpacked Luke's rare books, family photos, even his prized golf clubs. "We were wrong," Sarah continued, tears in her eyes. "So wrong. Can you ever forgive us?" Before I could answer, Bethany's phone buzzed. Her eyes widened as she read the message. "They're not taking the deal," she announced. "Thea and Jameson are claiming everything was Luke's idea, that he set up the fraudulent schemes, and they were just following his instructions." "What?" Ira jumped up. "They're trying to blame Dad?" "It won't work," Bethany said firmly. "We have dated documents proving the scheme started after Luke's death, plus Sandra's testimony and the recordings. They're desperate," I realized, trying to salvage their reputations by destroying Luke's. "Well, they've lost their last ally," Uncle Robert declared from the doorway. We hadn't heard him arrive. "The country club board just voted to revoke their memberships, unanimously." For Thea and Jameson, that would hurt worse than jail time. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Luke and me at our wedding, with a message. "You'll regret this. Family secrets should stay secret." I showed it to Bethany, who immediately called the DA. "Add witness intimidation to the charges." "They still think they can scare me," I said, looking around at my support system. Kayla, Ira, Olive, Athena, Sandra, and the family members who'd finally seen the truth. They don't understand that I'm not alone anymore. Ah, speaking of not being alone, Bethany said, checking her phone again, the DA wants to know if you'll speak at their arraignment tomorrow. Show the judge that the person they tried to declare incompetent is fully capable of testifying against them. I thought of Luke, of our home, of everything we'd built together. Yes, I said firmly. It's time they faced someone they can't intimidate or manipulate. They wanted your house, Kayla said, hugging me. Instead, they lost everything. Not everything, I corrected her, looking at our gathered family. They lost something far more valuable than money or property. They lost our trust, and they're never getting that back. The courtroom fell silent as I approached the podium. Thea and Jameson sat with their expensive lawyers, their designer outfits replaced by drab clothing that somehow made them look smaller, diminished. Mrs. Stout, the judge said kindly, please share your statement with the court. I unfolded my prepared notes, but set them aside. Instead, I looked directly at my former in-laws. I thought about coming here with anger, I began, about listing every scheme, every lie, every betrayal. But that's not what Luke would want. Thea flinched at her brother's name. Jameson stared at his hands. Instead, I want to talk about legacy. Luke believed in building things that last. Homes, relationships, trust. While you were plotting to take my home, I was planning its future. I turned to address the judge. Your Honor, I'm converting my house into a women's shelter and resource center, a place where vulnerable people can find safety and support, just like I found support when I needed it most. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Kayla squeezed Athena's hand in the front row, both of them beaming. The money they stole from our family, I continued. Every penny they repay will go toward funding this shelter. Their greed will become someone else's sanctuary. Objection! Thea's lawyer stood. This is inflammatory. Overruled, the judge cut in. Continue, Mrs. Stout. Thea, Jameson. I addressed them directly. You thought I was a grieving widow you could easily destroy. You were wrong. Luke didn't just leave me a house. He left me the strength to defend it, and the wisdom to use it for something greater than myself. Bethany stood up next to me, handling the formal part. Your Honor, we've submitted the paperwork establishing the Luke Stout Memorial Foundation. All restitution payments will go directly to funding the shelter's operations. The judge nodded approvingly. Given the defendants' rejection of the plea deal and their subsequent attempts to defame their deceased brother, I'm inclined to impose the maximum sentence. Thea finally broke her silence. Genesis, please! We're family! So, family? I turned to her. Family doesn't plot to have someone committed. Family doesn't forge medical documents or steal trust funds. Family builds each other up. They don't tear each other down. The judge cleared his throat. Thea and Jameson, please rise for sentencing. They stood, trembling. The judge's voice was stern as he handed down their punishment. 7 years in prison, full restitution to all victims, and permanent bars from working in real estate or financial services. As they were led away, Ira approached me with Olive. Dad would be proud, he said softly, both of how you fought back and what you're doing with the house. Outside the courthouse, reporters clustered with cameras and microphones. But it was Sandra who spoke first, standing with other victims of Thea and Jameson's schemes. We're all contributing to the shelter, she announced. Every penny they repay us will help other people rebuild their lives. Uncle Robert stepped forward. The family's establishing a scholarship fund, too, for women seeking legal or financial education. We want to prevent others from being victimized like we were. Back home, I found Athena directing volunteers who were helping convert the guest rooms into shelter spaces. Kayla was organizing donations of clothes and supplies that had poured in since the story broke. Ms. Genesis, Athena called out, come see what arrived. In Luke's study, now transformed into a counseling room, hung a new sign. The Luke Stout Memorial Foundation, turning houses into homes, survivors into warriors. Perfect timing, Bethany said, walking in with a stack of papers. The first 3 residents have been approved. They move in next week. I touched the sign gently, thinking of Luke. He'd always said our home had too much love for just 2 people. Now it would shelter dozens, giving them the same security and support he'd given me. Genesis! Kayla pointed out the window. A young woman stood hesitantly at our gate, clutching a small bag. I walked out to meet her. Can I help you? I saw the news, she said quietly. About what you're doing here. I need a safe place. Then you found one, I said, opening the gate. Welcome home. Behind us, the house seemed to glow in the afternoon light. Where Thea and Jameson had seen only profit, I saw purpose. Where they'd plotted destruction, I'd built hope. Come on, I said to our first unofficial resident. Let me show you around. This house has a way of healing broken things. Trust me, I know from experience. As we walked inside, I smiled at the irony. My in-laws had tried to take everything from me. Instead, they'd helped me find my true calling. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's using their weapons to build something beautiful.
I stood frozen in the shadows of the backstage area, my heart pounding as my sister's voice filled the venue with my words, my melody, my soul. The private showcase was packed with industry executives, and Hannah owned every inch of that stage, belting out the song I'd poured my heart into for months. My name is Jennifer, and I just watched my sister steal my dream. That's the one, Leon whispered beside me, his eyes gleaming. That's the hit that's going to launch her career. He squeezed my shoulder, either oblivious to or ignoring my trembling. I shrugged his hand off. That's my song, I hissed through clenched teeth. I wrote it in my bedroom last month, you know that. Leon's expression hardened. Jennifer, we've talked about this. You're a brilliant songwriter, but Hannah has the stage presence, the look, the whole package. This is what's best for everyone. The audience erupted in applause as Hannah finished the final note. My song, my story, my pain, all wrapped up in her perfect package with a bow on top. I pushed past Leon and stormed toward the dressing room, nearly colliding with Victoria, my best friend and only ally in this snake pit of an industry. Jen, wait, she called after me, but I was already shoving open the dressing room door. Hannah sat at the vanity, touching up her lipstick. She caught my reflection in the mirror and smiled. Baby sis, did you hear them out there? They loved it. How could you? My voice cracked. We promised when we were kids, no stealing each other's songs, ever. Hannah spun around on her chair, still wearing that infuriating smile. This isn't stealing, Jen. This is collaboration. You write, I perform. We're a team. A team? I laughed bitterly. Teams don't go behind each other's backs. You didn't even ask me. Because you would have said no. Hannah stood up, her heels clicking on the floor as she approached me. You would have hidden that beautiful song away in your little notebook, like you do with all of them. Some things are too good to stay hidden, sis. That wasn't your choice to make. I felt tears threatening, but I refused to let them fall. That song was personal. About Dad's death, and I gave it the platform it deserves. Hannah grabbed my hands. Listen to me. You're not ready for the spotlight. You get nervous ordering coffee for God's sake, but together, we could be unstoppable. I yanked my hands away. You had no right. The door opened and Leon walked in, followed by Victoria. Leon clapped his hands together. Ladies, we have some very excited executives out there. Hannah, they want to discuss recording options. Perfect. Hannah beamed, gathering her things. She paused at the door. Jen, don't be mad. This is good for both of us, you'll see. As she left with Leon, Victoria wrapped an arm around my shoulders. That was brutal. Are you okay? I wiped my eyes. She's been doing this our whole lives, taking what's mine because she thinks she deserves it more, but this time... I shook my head. This time she went too far. So what are you going to do about it? Before I could answer, Leon poked his head back in. Jennifer, a word? Victoria squeezed my arm and left us alone. Leon closed the door. I know you're upset, he started. Upset doesn't begin to cover it. But this is the music business. It's not about fairness, it's about what sells. Hannah has that spark, that thing that makes people want to watch her. You're brilliant behind the scenes, but you're not ready for the spotlight. So you're just going to let her take credit for my work? Leon sighed. The song will be credited to you as a writer. You'll get your royalties. But Hannah needs this win. The label needs this win. Sometimes we have to sacrifice our pride for the greater good. I stared at him, this man who'd promised to look out for both of us when we signed with him 2 years ago. The greater good? Or your commission? His jaw tightened. I'm going to pretend you didn't say that. Take some time to cool off. And Jennifer? He paused at the door. Don't do anything stupid. Hannah's career is about to take off, and you don't want to be the one who ruins it for her. As the door clicked shut behind him, I sank into the chair Hannah had vacated. My reflection stared back at me. The quiet sister, the sensible one, the one who was supposed to be content staying in the shadows. Not anymore. I pulled out my phone and opened my contacts. It was time to remind everyone that even quiet people have voices, and mine was about to get very, very loud. Victoria's apartment became my sanctuary over the next few days. I couldn't bear to be in the studio where Hannah was recording my song. Couldn't stomach watching her social media explode with praise for her breakthrough single. You need to eat something, Victoria said, sliding a plate of toast across her kitchen counter. Starving yourself won't fix this. I pushed the plate away. I need to fix this. But how? Nobody's going to believe me over Hannah. She's got Leon, the label, everyone wrapped around her finger. Victoria's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her eyes widened. Speaking of Hannah, she turned the screen toward me. My sister was doing a live interview, wearing the same necklace I'd given her for her birthday last year. The song came from a very personal place, Hannah was saying, her eyes misting up perfectly on cue. Losing our father last year, it just poured out of me one night. Music has always been my way of processing grief. The mug in my hand shattered against the wall before I even realized I'd thrown it. Okay, Victoria said, grabbing paper towels. That's it. We're done playing defense. Call Chase. Chase? The producer? He's been trying to work with you for months. Hannah and Leon kept blocking it, remember? Maybe it's time to find out why. My hands shook as I dialed his number. He answered on the second ring. Jennifer, this is unexpected. Chase, I need your help. That song Hannah's performing? It's mine. I can prove it. Silence stretched for a moment. Then, meet me at Riverside Coffee in an hour. Come alone. The cafe was quiet when I arrived. Chase sat in a corner booth, 2 coffees already waiting. He looked exactly like his producer headshot, salt and pepper hair, kind eyes behind thick-rimmed glasses. Show me, he said as I sat down. I pulled out my phone, opened my voice memos and played the original demo I'd recorded in my bedroom. My voice, raw and untrained but honest, filled our little corner. When it finished, Chase leaned back. I knew it, he said. The lyrics were too intimate, too personal for Hannah. She's a performer, not a poet. He studied me. Why didn't you fight for it? I tried, but Leon Whitney is a shark who cares about numbers, not nurturing talent. Chase pulled out his laptop. Listen to this. He played a track, something haunting and beautiful. Who is that? I asked. Noel Wilkins. He's been underground for a while, but he's planning a comeback. And he needs a songwriter. My heart skipped. You want me to write for him? I want you to work with him privately. No contracts, no Leon, no paper trail. Yet, Chase's eyes glinted. Build something undeniable then, when the time is right. We reveal everything, I finished, understanding dawning. Exactly, but Jennifer. His expression turned serious. This won't be easy. Hannah and Leon will try to shut it down if they find out. Are you ready for that fight? I thought about Hannah's interview, about her wearing my necklace while claiming my pain as her own. More than ready. That night, I got a text from my mom. Hannah's song is beautiful, sweetheart. Your father would be so proud of both his girls. I didn't respond. Instead, I called Victoria. "I'm in," I said when she answered. "Chase is setting up a meeting with Noel Wilkins. We're going to work in secret." Noel Wilkins? The guy who disappeared after that scandal with his old label? That's him. Chase thinks we're a perfect match. Perfect for what exactly? I smiled into the phone. For showing everyone what really happens when you steal from the quiet girl. A knock at my door made me jump. Hannah stood there when I opened it, looking uncertain. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Now you want to talk?" "I saw Mum's text. You didn't respond." She stepped inside uninvited. "Are you really going to punish the whole family because you're mad at me?" "Mad at you?" I laughed. "Hannah, you stole my story about Dad. You're performing it like it's your pain, your loss. That's not anger, that's betrayal." "I'm making it successful. The label loves it, the fans love it. Get out. Jen, get out." After she left, I texted Chase. "When can I meet Noel?" His response came quickly. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Studio B at Blackwood Records. Come ready to work." I looked at my reflection in the window, at the quiet girl everyone underestimated. Ready to work, I whispered to myself. Ready to fight. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. Blackwood Records, Studio B felt different from the polished spaces I was used to. No fancy artwork on the walls, no expensive coffee machine in the corner, just well-worn equipment and a lingering scent of stale cigarettes. Noel Wilkins sat at the mixing board, his back to me when I entered. He didn't turn around. "You're Jennifer?" His voice was rougher than I expected. "Yes." Chase said... Chase says a lot of things. He swiveled his chair around. Dark eyes studied me from beneath messy black hair. "He says you're worth my time, that you've got something real." I pulled my notebook from my bag. "I have songs." "I don't want to see your songs." He stood up, towering over me. "I want to know why you're here." "Because my sister stole my work." "No." He stepped closer. "Why are you really here? Revenge, justice, fame?" "I'm here because music is the only thing that makes sense to me anymore." The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Because when my dad died, songs were the only way I could breathe. And Hannah took that breath and sold it like it was hers. Noel's expression softened slightly. "Play something." Not the stolen song. Something new. I sat at the piano in the corner, my fingers hovering over the keys. The melody came naturally, something I'd been working on since the showcase, raw and angry and hurt. When I finished, the silence felt heavy. "Again," Noel said, "but this time don't hold back." I played it again, letting my voice crack on the high notes, letting the anger seep through. When I looked up, Noel was smiling. "Now that," he said, "is worth my time." He told me his story as we worked. How his former producer had stolen his songs, claimed Noel was just the voice. How the industry had believed the producer over him. "Is that why you disappeared?" I asked, adjusting a chord progression. "I disappeared because I was angry. Stupid." He shook his head. "Should have fought back instead of running. And now? Now I'm ready. Question is, are you?" He played back what we'd recorded. "Because this plan of Chase's, it's going to get ugly." "It's already ugly." I showed him Hannah's latest Instagram post. Her performing my song at another showcase, the comments gushing about her songwriting talent. "Your sister's good," he admitted. "The way she sells those lyrics. She almost makes me believe they're hers. That's what makes it worse. She takes something real and makes it performative." We worked until evening, crafting something new, something that couldn't be mistaken for Hannah's style. As I packed up, Noel stopped me. "One condition," he said. "No more playing small. If we do this, you have to be willing to step into the spotlight. No hiding behind other voices." "I'm not ready for..." "Neither was I at first." He handed me a flash drive. "Listen to these. My first demos. Scared, uncertain, raw, just like you, but real." My phone buzzed. Leon calling. I declined it. "He won't stop, you know," Noel warned. "The minute he suspects something, let him try." I surprised myself with my conviction. I'm done being the quiet one. Victoria was waiting outside the studio. Well, how is he? Intense, broken, perfect. I smiled. We're doing this. My phone buzzed again. A text from Hannah. Where are you? Leon's freaking out. Says you're not answering his calls. Don't do anything stupid, Jen. Delete it, Noel said, appearing behind me. No distractions. Tomorrow, same time. I nodded, then deleted the message without responding. That night, I listened to Noel's demos. His voice, younger and unsure, sang about betrayal and loss and finding strength. The final track was different. A voice memo. Music isn't just about talent, his recorded voice said. It's about truth. They can steal our songs, but they can't steal our truth. Remember that, Jennifer. I opened my notebook and started writing, the words flowing easier than they had in weeks. This wasn't just about exposing Hannah anymore. It was about finding my voice, really finding it, and making sure it was too loud to ignore. My phone lit up with another text, this time from Chase. How did it go with Noel? I replied. We're ready. What's next? His response came quickly. Awards ceremony is in 6 weeks. That's our stage. That's when everyone learns the truth. 6 weeks to create something undeniable. 6 weeks to find my courage. 6 weeks to change everything. I looked at my reflection in the window again, but this time I didn't see the quiet girl anymore. I saw someone ready to make some noise. 4 weeks into our secret sessions, and Hannah's version of my song was climbing the charts. I watched her perform it on morning television while Noel and I worked on our response in Studio B. She's been nominated for Best Breakthrough Artist, Victoria announced, bursting into the studio. At the Industry Choice Awards. Noel's fingers stilled on the guitar strings. Perfect. That's our moment. Our moment to what? Victoria asked. Crash her acceptance speech. Something like that. I played back our latest recording, a song that wove my stolen melody into something new, something that exposed the theft while creating its own identity. The studio door opened again. Leon walked in. Well, well. He looked around the shabby studio. This is where you've been hiding. Noel stepped between us. She's not hiding. She's working. With a has-been? Leon laughed. Jennifer, come on. Hannah's worried sick about you. The family's falling apart, and for what? So you can throw a tantrum with... He waved dismissively at Noel. This. Get out, I said quietly. Excuse me. Get out of my studio. Leon's face hardened. Your studio? This dump? You know what? Fine. Play your little rebellion game. But know this. If you try anything that hurts Hannah's career, I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. After he left, Victoria touched my arm. You okay? No. I turned to Noel. We need to work faster. We spent the next 12 hours recording, refining, building our case. Noel shared stories about his own experience with betrayal as we worked. My producer was like family, he said during a break. That's what made it worse. He kept saying it was for my own good, that I wasn't ready to be known as a songwriter. Like Leon with me. Exactly. They think they're protecting us, but really they're just controlling us. He played a few chords. The industry's full of people who mistake ownership for mentorship. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Family dinner tonight. No excuses. We need to talk about this. Go, Noel said. Family's important, even when they're wrong. The house I grew up in felt smaller now. Hannah's car was already in the driveway when I arrived. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Finally, she said, pulling me into a hug. My girls are home. Hannah sat at the dining table looking uncomfortable. Hey, sis. Hannah. Mom served Dad's favourite pasta recipe. A peace offering. This has gone on long enough, she said. Your sisters, whatever this is about. It's about theft, I cut in. About betrayal. It's about opportunity, Hannah countered. About not letting pride get in the way of success. Pride? You stole my song about Dad? I made it successful. Look what's happening. The nominations, the recognition. This is what Dad would have wanted. Don't, I stood up. Don't you dare use him to justify this. Girls, Mom pleaded, please. You want to know what Dad would have wanted? I continued. He would have wanted honesty. Remember what he always said about music? About how it should come from truth. Hannah's face fell. Jen, Save it. I headed for the door. You'll hear the truth soon enough. Everyone will. Back at the studio, Noel was still working. He looked up as I entered. Family dinner go well? About as well as yours probably did. He nodded, understanding. Listen to this. He played our latest version, now with added layers, harmonies that highlighted the original melody's theft while creating something hauntingly new. It's perfect, I whispered. Almost. It needs one more thing. He handed me headphones. Your voice, no hiding this time. I stepped into the booth, heart pounding. As the music started, I closed my eyes and thought of Dad, of how he'd taught both Hannah and me to play guitar, of how he'd always said music was about honesty before anything else. When I finished, I opened my eyes to find Noel grinning. That's it, he said. That's our weapon. My phone lit up. Another text from Hannah. Whatever you're planning, please don't. We can fix this another way. 2 weeks until the awards, Noel said, watching me read the message. No turning back now. I deleted Hannah's text without responding. No turning back. As I left the studio that night, Leon was waiting by my car. Last chance, he said. Walk away now. Let your sister have her moment. I met his gaze. You know what, Leon? You were right about one thing. I'm not ready for the spotlight. I got into my car. I was born for it. His face in my rearview mirror as I drove away told me everything. The war was about to begin. Ms. Santiago? The voice caught me off guard as I left Studio B. A young woman with a press badge stepped out of the shadows. I'm Sydney from Music Weekly. Can we talk? I tried to brush past her. No comment. I know about the original demo. She kept pace with me. The one you recorded in your bedroom the night after your father's funeral. That stopped me. How did you... I'm good at my job. Sydney pulled out her phone. And I'm very interested in why your sister's breakthrough hit sounds remarkably similar to a voice memo you sent to 3 friends 6 months ago. Noel appeared behind us. Inside. Now. In the studio, Sydney laid out her evidence. Screenshots, timestamps, old social media posts where I'd referenced working on a special song about Dad. Why are you showing us this? Noel asked. Because I hate frauds. Sydney's eyes flashed. And because every great story needs proof. I exchanged looks with Noel. What exactly are you proposing? Let me help. I can build the paper trail, document everything. When you make your move at the awards show, you'll need more than just your word against hers. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Victoria. Turn on entertainment tonight, now. Noel flipped on the studio's small TV. Hannah was being interviewed wearing a locket with Dad's picture in it. My locket. The song just poured out of me, she was saying. Losing Dad. It changed everything. Music became my therapy. Sydney was already taking notes. That locket isn't hers, is it? It was a gift from our father, I said quietly. To me. For my birthday last year. Perfect. Sydney smiled. The devil's in the details. Later that night, over coffee at a quiet diner, Sydney showed me her draft article. I won't publish until after the awards show, she promised. But everything's ready. The timeline, the evidence, even interviews with people who heard your original version. Who? Your barista from the coffee shop where you used to write, the guitar teacher who helped you with the bridge, small people who remember big details. Noel read over my shoulder. This is good. Really good. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Hannah's doing a pre-awards interview tomorrow. Please come. She wants to make peace. Don't go, Noel warned. It's a trap. But I went anyway. The interview was at our old high school auditorium where Hannah and I used to perform in talent shows. She was already on stage when I arrived, doing sound check. You came. Leon intercepted me at the door. Good. Hannah has a proposition for you. On stage, Hannah spotted me and waved. Jen, come up here. Under the bright lights, she hugged me tight. I miss you, sis. What do you want, Hannah? She glanced at the waiting interviewer. I want to make this right. Let's tell our story together. How we collaborated on the song, how it brought us closer after Dad. Collaborated. I stepped back. That's your solution? More lies? It's not a lie. We've always made music together. This is just formalizing it. By stealing my song and now trying to steal my story too. Ladies, the interviewer called, we're ready. Hannah grabbed my hand. Please, Jen, we can split the credit, split everything. Just don't what? Don't tell the truth? Leon stepped onto the stage. Think carefully about your next move, Jennifer. Some bridges once burned. I pulled away from Hannah. You're wearing my locket. She touched it defensively. I just borrowed it for... Keep it. Keep everything. I headed for the exit. But remember this moment, when you had a chance to tell the truth and chose not to. Sydney was waiting outside. How'd it go? They offered to split the credit. And? I smiled. Let's add it to your article. Show how they tried to buy my silence. Back at Studio B, Noel was working on final touches for our awards show performance. He looked up as I entered. They tried to bribe you, didn't they? With my own song. I sat at the piano. Play it again. I want to make it perfect. As we worked, Sydney set up her recording equipment. For posterity, she said. When this story breaks, people will want to know every detail. My phone lit up with texts. From Mom, from Hannah, from Leon. I turned it off. 1 week until the awards, Noel said. You ready? I thought about Hannah wearing my locket, telling my story, living my truth. More than ready. It's time everyone heard the real song. The real story, the real me. The night before the awards show, I couldn't sleep. Victoria found me at Dad's grave, sitting cross-legged with my guitar. Thought I'd find you here, she said, sitting beside me. Noel's looking everywhere for you. Final rehearsal, remember? I keep thinking about what Dad would say. I strummed quietly, about all of this. He'd say, Jennifer. Hannah's voice cut through the darkness. She stood a few feet away, still in her rehearsal clothes. We need to talk. Victoria stood protectively. I think you've said enough. Please, Hannah's voice cracked. 5 minutes. Alone. After Victoria reluctantly left, Hannah sat where she had been. Neither of us spoke for a moment, both staring at Dad's headstone. Remember when we used to sing his favourite songs here? Hannah finally said. Before you decided fame was more important than truth? That's not fair. No. I turned to face her. Then give me back my locket. My song. My story. She touched the locket at her neck. I can't. The label Leon, everything's in motion, the nominations. Built on lies. Built on talent, mine and yours. She grabbed my hand. Please don't do whatever you're planning tomorrow. We can figure this out. Like you figured out how to steal my song. I made it successful. The whole industry is talking about it. About us. About you. I pulled my hand away. They're talking about you. My phone buzzed. Noel calling. Hannah saw his name and laughed bitterly. So that's your revenge? Working with another failed artist? No. I stood up. My revenge is the truth, and tomorrow everyone will hear it. Back at Studio B, Noel was pacing. Where were you? We need to... Play it again, I interrupted. One more time. He studied my face, then nodded. The music filled the room. Our answer to Hannah's theft, our weapon of truth. It's ready, he said when it ended. We're ready. Sydney burst in, waving her phone. You need to see this. Hannah just went live on Instagram. We huddled around her screen. Hannah was in her bedroom crying. I just want my sister back, she was saying. Music was our connection to Dad, and now she's trying to destroy everything because of jealousy. Turn it off, I said. Wait, Sydney was typing furiously. The comments, people are taking sides. This could work in our favour. The bigger the drama now, the bigger the impact tomorrow, Noel finished. My phone lit up with a text from Leon. Last chance. Back off now, or your career is over before it begins. I showed it to Noel. He smiled grimly. He's scared. Good. Victoria returned with coffee and news. Security schedule for tomorrow. I got it from my friend who works at the venue. We spread the papers across the mixing board, planning every detail. The performance order changed, Sydney noted. Hannah's acceptance speech, they're assuming she'll win, is right before the final commercial break. Perfect timing, Noel said. Right when everyone's watching. My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. Whatever's happening between you girls, please don't let it happen in public. Dad wouldn't want this. Dad wouldn't want lies, I whispered. Dawn was breaking when we finally finished rehearsing. Victoria hugged me goodbye. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be intense. But as I headed for my car, Hannah was waiting in the parking lot. One last time, she said. Don't do this. Or what? Or I'll tell everyone how you've been spiraling since Dad died. How you're confused, mixing up memories, how the song was always mine, and you just helped with some lyrics. The slap echoed in the empty lot. My hand stung as Hannah touched her cheek in shock. That's how far you'll go? I asked. Gaslighting your own sister? I'm protecting everything we've built. No, you're protecting yourself. And tomorrow, that protection ends. As she drove away, Noel appeared beside me. You okay? No. I watched Hannah's taillights disappear. But I will be. After tomorrow. Get some sleep, he said. The war starts in 12 hours. Back home, I opened my laptop and found an old video. Dad teaching Hannah and me to play guitar, both of us laughing as we struggled with the chords. Music is truth, he was saying. Never forget that, girls. I closed the laptop and picked up my guitar. The sun was rising, painting my room in shades of gold. Tomorrow the truth would finally have its moment in the spotlight, and this time I wouldn't be hiding in the shadows. The Industry Choice Awards buzzed with nervous energy. From my hiding spot backstage, I watched Hannah work the red carpet, wearing my locket and a confident smile. 5 minutes, Noel whispered, adjusting his earpiece. Sydney's in position. Victoria squeezed my hand. Security's distracted. We're clear. The ceremony began. I watched on the backstage monitor as award after award was presented. Hannah sat in the front row, practicing her acceptance speech. Best Breakthrough Artist is up next, Sydney murmured through our earpieces. Everyone in position? My phone buzzed. Leon, I see you backstage. Don't be stupid. And the winner for Best Breakthrough Artist is... The presenter paused dramatically. Hannah Santiago. The audience erupted in applause. Hannah hugged Leon, then made her way to the stage, tears already glistening. Now, Noel commanded. I stepped into position behind the curtain as Hannah began her speech. This song came from the deepest part of my heart, she was saying. Losing our father. The first notes of our remix cut through her words. Hannah froze mid-sentence as my voice from the original demo filled the auditorium. What's happening? She whispered into the microphone. The curtain rose behind her. I stood there, guitar in hand, singing the truth. The audience fell silent as the two versions played together. Her polished theft and my raw original, weaving together in damning harmony. Hannah spun around. Jen, don't... I stepped forward, still singing, and unclasped her necklace, my locket, letting it fall between us. The cameras caught everything. Security! Leon shouted from the audience, but Sydney was already on stage with her press badge, filming everything. Other reporters followed. I switched to our new version, the song Noel and I had crafted. Hannah stood frozen as I sang about betrayal, about stolen grief, about a sister who valued fame over truth. The audience began to murmur as understanding dawned. Phones came out, recording everything. That's enough! Leon rushed the stage, but Noel blocked his path. Let her finish, he growled. I locked eyes with Hannah as I sang the final verse, words about forgiveness, about the cost of lies, about the weight of our father's memory. When the last note faded, the silence was deafening. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Soon the whole auditorium was on their feet, not for Hannah's performance, but for the truth they'd just witnessed. Hannah grabbed the microphone. This is ridiculous. She's just jealous. Play it, Sydney called. On the giant screens above the stage, a video montage began. My original demo recording, time-stamped months before Hannah's version. Text messages between Hannah and Leon plotting to take the song. social media posts where I'd mentioned writing it. "Stop this," Leon demanded, but the evidence kept coming. The guitar teacher describing how I'd worked on the bridge, the barista confirming I'd written it in his cafe, Hannah's own Instagram live from the night before, admitting there was a dispute over the song's ownership. Hannah turned to me, mascara running. "You've ruined everything." "No," I said into my microphone. "You did that when you stole my truth." Security finally reached the stage, but it was too late. The story was out. Phones were buzzing with notifications as Sydney's article went live. "Hannah?" a reporter called out. "Is it true you stole your sister's song?" Another voice. "Did you knowingly perform stolen material?" And another. "Was this all a publicity stunt?" Through my earpiece, Victoria whispered, "Your mum's here, front row." I found her in the audience, tears streaming down her face. She nodded once, a gesture of understanding, of support. Leon tried damage control. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is clearly a family matter that you helped orchestrate," Noel cut in, his voice carrying, "just like you did to me 5 years ago." More murmurs, more cameras, more truth. Hannah fled the stage. I watched her go, the Best Breakthrough Artist Award abandoned at the podium. "Jennifer," Sydney called out, "would you like to perform the real version, the original?" The audience cheered their encouragement. I looked at Noel, who nodded. "Show them who you really are." So I sat at the piano and played, really played, the song I'd written for Dad. No theatrics, no performance, just truth. When I finished, the standing ovation wasn't just for the music. It was for the courage to stand up, to speak out, to reclaim what was stolen. As the applause washed over me, I picked up my locket from where it had fallen. Inside, Dad's picture smiled at me. "Music is truth," I whispered his words. And finally, everyone knew mine. The morning after the awards show, I sat in Studio B, watching the chaos unfold on my phone. Song theft and sister betrayal were trending. Hannah's record label had issued a formal apology. Leon's other clients were dropping him by the hour. Victoria burst in, waving a contract. 3 labels want to sign you, real deals, with full creative control." "She's not signing anything today," Noel said, entering behind her. "Let the dust settle first." My phone rang. Hannah's number. I'd been avoiding her calls since last night. "Answer it," Victoria urged. "It's time." Hannah's voice was raw. "Can we meet? Please?" I suggested Dad's favourite diner. When I arrived, Hannah sat in our old booth, no makeup, no styling, just my sister looking lost. "I brought something," she said as I sat down. She slid a familiar notebook across the table, my songwriting journal. "I took it from your room last summer, that's how I found the song." "Why?" "Because you were always better at it than me." Her hands shook as she stirred her coffee. The writing, the emotion. I just wanted to be seen like that, to matter like that. "You mattered to me, to Dad." "Did I? He spent hours teaching you guitar, helping with your compositions. I was just the voice. So you stole my voice instead?" The waitress brought our usual orders. She'd known us since we were kids. "Your performance last night was beautiful, Jennifer. Your father would have been proud." After she left, Hannah wiped her eyes. "She's right. He would have been proud of you. I got lost somewhere between wanting success and needing validation. And Leon dropped me this morning, along with the label." She laughed bitterly. "Karma's quick these days." Sydney appeared at our table, notebook in hand. "Ready for the follow-up interview?" I looked at Hannah. She nodded. For the next hour, we told the whole story. Not just the theft, but the years leading up to it. The pressure, the competition, the grief of losing Dad. "Last question," Sydney said. "What happens now?" Hannah reached across the table, taking my hand. "Now I earn back what I lost. Not the career, my sister." As Sydney packed up, Noel and Victoria joined us. "The studio's booked for today," Noel said, "if you're ready." "For what?" Hannah asked. I pulled out my phone, showing her the song I'd been working on since last night. It's about sisters. about forgiveness, about finding our own voices. Together? Hope flickered in her eyes. Together. But this time we do it right. At the studio, Hannah stood behind the microphone, vulnerable without her usual performance armor. I sat at the piano. From the top, Noel directed. We played through the song, my words, both our voices, weaving together like they used to when we were kids singing in the backyard. That's the one, Victoria whispered. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Come home for dinner, both of you. At home, Mom had Dad's guitar on the table. He wanted you both to have this, she said, to share it, like you used to share everything. Hannah touched the strings gently. I forgot how to do that. Share. So, remember, I said, sitting beside her, we can write new songs, tell new stories. Real ones this time. Sydney's article went live that evening. Sister Act, the truth behind the song, theft scandal. But it wasn't about the scandal anymore. It was about redemption, about two sisters finding their way back to each other through music. The industry calls started coming. Talk shows, record deals, documentary requests. But Hannah and I had other plans. We're booking Dad's favourite venue, I told Noel. Small show, new songs, real stories. Both of you. Both of us. Different songs, different styles, but sharing the stage, like we should have from the start. The last person to leave the studio that night was Leon, trying one last time to spin the situation. Girls, we could market this. The reconciliation, the comeback. Goodbye, Leon, Hannah and I said together. Later at Dad's grave, we played our new song, just us two sisters, two guitars, and the truth. Think he's listening? Hannah asked. I opened the locket, now hanging where it belonged around my neck. He always was. We just weren't always singing, honestly. We are now. And that was the real breakthrough. Not the awards or the acclaim, but the simple power of two sisters finding their voices again, together and separately, in harmony and in truth. Just like Dad taught us. Just like we were always meant to be.